Hey guys, how are all of you beautiful people doing? Hope all of you are doing fine, and yes, this is the another amazing video of Reincarnated in Naruto. So without any delay, let's start the story. Naruto stood atop the head of the large toad Gamabunta next to Gamaken and Gamario in his new sage clothes, already in sage mode, as he glowered at the 5 pains. The odds seem to be against us this time, Deva Pain commented as he stared at the 7 shinobi in front of him, who all exuded an aura of power. With Deva Pain's power not returning for a while, we'll have to make do with our summons. Deva Pain continued speaking to himself. Animal Pain weaved the signs for the summoning and said, "Summoning jutsu." Poof 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 poof. 6 white clouds of smoke appeared in the vicinity before clearing away, and in their place was a giant drill-beaked bird, a multi-headed dog, a snake-tailed chameleon, a giant ox, a giant rhino, and a giant crustacean. TSK. Go! Tsunade shouted fiercely. Fwish! At that moment the battle began. The loud sound of egg bombs could be heard dropping from the sky as the drill-beaked bird flew overhead. Before they could fall down too far, Hiruzen weaved the signs of rat, tiger, dog, ox, hare, tiger, and said, "Fire-style Phoenix Flower Jutsu." Multiple balls of fire shot out towards the sky, intercepting the egg bombs, causing them to explode in the air. Before the giant rhino, giant ox, and giant crustacean could get near anyone, Gamabunta, Gamaken, and Gamario intercepted them, keeping them at bay. The giant chameleon swallowed Deva Pain before turning invisible. So, he's trying to hide and buy some time for Deva's power to return, I mentally noted. Boom boom boom. I quickly jumped to the left, to the right, and the left one more time while advancing forward, dodging the missiles launched from Asura Pain. Fwish! Sasuke stealthily appeared behind Preta Pain and swung his sword at its head, only for it to duck and successfully dodge. Just as it was about to counter and strike Sasuke, Naruto appeared in front of it and kicked with his right leg. Preta Pain successfully crossed its arms and blocked, but due to Naruto's enhanced sage energy, his kick was strong enough to send Preta Pain flying through the air. A shadow clone of Naruto's fell from the sky with a Rasengan aimed at the Preta Pain, disoriented in the air. However, Preta Pain successfully absorbed the Rasengan's energy. This one can absorb ninjutsu Datbao. Clone Naruto exclaimed in surprise. Naruto Pain struck out with its fist, killing Naruto's shadow clone at this instant. Just as the multi-headed dog was about to take a bite out of Tsunade, she threw a right uppercut and easily sent the dog flying into the air for a few hundred feet. I quickly placed my hand on the back of Kimimro's head and shared my senses with him, allowing him to sense the whereabouts of the invisible chameleon. Kimimro weaved the signs of monkey, snake, and said, "Dance of the Weeding Cage Jutsu." Large, strong, and flexible bones erupted beneath the invisible chameleon and ensnared it without letting go, forcing it out of its invisible state. Deva Pain was immediately shocked as he stared at Izaya, who had his hands placed on Kimimro's head. "So he's a skilled sensory type shinobi," Deva Pain commented to himself. Kimimro stuck out his palms and said, "Dance of the Honey Locust Spear." The chameleon opened its mouth, releasing Deva Pain just as 2 large white and sharp bones shot out at high speeds and killed it, causing it to disappear in a puff of smoke. Naruto continued to engage Preta Pain in a fight of taijutsu as Sasuke prevented Animal Pain and Naruto Pain from interfering, and Kakashi kept Asura Pain at bay. "Maro, go help Lord Fifth take down that dog that keeps multiplying," I said. "MN." Kimimro nodded and dashed off. Hiruzen continued keeping the egg bombs away. Kakashi quickly disengaged from Asura Pain and arrived by Sajuke's side at this moment and struck out with his Reikiri at Naruto Pain's head. Just as Naruto Pain ducked to dodge, Sajuke activated his Chidori spear, successfully piercing through Naruto Pain's head. Animal Pain used this opportunity to strike out at Sajuke with a black receiver spear, only for me to fly next to Kakashi, who was by Sajuke in that moment, and deflected the black receiver with a special kunai of mine and marked the falling Naruto Pain. Good thing I gave Kakashi a special kunai in the hospital, I mentally noted. Well, Sajuke could have easily avoided this strike either way. Sajuke immediately stabbed towards the head of Animal Pain with his sword when Deva Pain finally said, "Almighty push." At that moment Sajuke, Kakashi, and I were pushed away from Naruto and Animal Pain, flying more than 30 feet back through the air before we all managed to safely land back on the ground. Swoosh! More than 30 missiles came flying out from the back of Asura Pain towards us. Sajuke placed his hand in the tiger sign and said, "Fire style art of the dragon flame jutsu." Several large flames in the shape of a dragon's head shot out at the missiles, causing them to explode midair and causing a plume of smoke. I created a shadow clone as Kakashi activated his Reikiri and said, "Reikiri Lightning Hound." A stream of electricity shot out from his hand and into the shape of a lightning hound as it ran towards the Asura Pain. At this moment Naruto Pain was able to disengage from Naruto and jump in front of Asura Pain, absorbing Kakashi's technique. Naruto activated his Raisin Shuriken and threw it at Deva Pain, Asura Pain, and Naruto Pain. Since Naruto Pain was already absorbing Kakashi's technique in one direction, it couldn't turn in time, so Deva Pain stuck out its hand and said, "Almighty push." He successfully dispelled Naruto's Raisin Shuriken. However, at this moment my clone said, "Taiyogen." A dense golden sphere of energy rotated in its right hand as it placed its left hand on Sajuke's shoulder, teleporting them. They both appeared beside the fallen Naruto Pain in that moment, which was near Deva Pain. Sajuke automatically channeled his Chidori into his sword and swung at Deva Pain, who jumped back to dodge. Clone Izaya threw a special kunai by Asura Pain's feet and instantly flew next to him. As Animal Pain and Naruto Pain acted to intercept my clone, its body exploded using the Shadow Clone Explosion Jutsu, blowing up Animal, Naruto, and Asura Pain, causing severe damage to all three. My real body then stuck out my hands beneath Asura Pain's ankles and pulled him into the ground with the Earth-style Headhunter Jutsu. Deva Pain just dodged a swing of Sajuke's Chidori-enhanced sword when he said, "Almighty push." Once again Sajuke was forced back all the way towards Naruto. Just as Sajuke landed, he stared at Deva Pain and said, "Amaterasu." Deva Pain was instantly lit ablaze by black flames without being able to dispel the flames for another 5 seconds. Sajuke used this chance to throw his Chidori-enhanced sword, however Deva Pain managed to dodge it just in time. Before Asura Pain could break free from underground, I struck its head with my Taiyogen, turning him into ashes. At this point Gamabunta, Gamaken, and Gamario had successfully killed the crustacean, the rhino, and the ox. All that was left was Deva Pain, Naruto Pain, Animal Pain, the multi-headed dog, and the flying bird. Deva Pain's power finally returned as he pushed the Amaterasu flames off of his body. "Hiya!" Tsunade shouted as she swung the leg of the now 6-headed dog and flung it into the wall of the crater. Kimimaro quickly formed the signs of snake, ox, rat, monkey, tiger and said, "Skeletal cage death trap jutsu." The multi-headed dog was captured and surrounded on all 4 sides, including the top of the cage, by thick bone wall structures with thick and sharp bones protruding from the walls. The walls slowly continued to close in together, crushing and maiming the dog without anywhere for it to escape. It was soon instantly crushed and ripped to pieces, causing it to disappear in a puff of smoke. Kakashi at this point had disappeared as his hands struck out beneath Pain's ankles and pulled it into the ground as he also used the Earth-style headhunter jutsu. As Animal Pain wanted to assist freeing Pain, Naruto arrived before it and struck Animal Pain with a Rasengan, sending it flying far into the wall of the crater. "That was for Jiraiya-sensei, you bastard Datbeo," Naruto said in anguish and gritted teeth. Kakashi killed Pain by piercing its head with his Raikiri. With the assistance of Gamabunta, Gamaken, and Gamario enforcing the bird out of the sky, Hiruzen quickly made short work of it and turned it into nothing but a roasted piece of chicken before it disappeared in a puff of smoke. It was at this moment that Pain furrowed his brow at the unexpected turn of events. He dashed far away from everyone with his hands closed together. "Even though I'm this far away from my main body, I'm still strong enough to use this technique at this distance," Pain whispered to himself. I knew instantly what he was about to do, but I was too far away and he wasn't marked with my Flying Thunder God seal. At that moment Pain raised his hands in the air and said, "Catastrophic planetary devastation." Zwitting. A small black ball of gravitational mass floated into the air and pulled everything in the surroundings into the air with it. "Shit. We don't have time to set up the barrier, and his technique messed up the places I put my markers," I cursed. Everyone was instantly shocked as we were all being pulled towards the core of the technique. I placed a marker down on the rock I was on and continued to fly to the location of everyone who had a special kunai or marker of mine. Tsunade, Hiruzen, Kakashi, and Kimimaro, I teleported them all to a safe place outside the range of the technique as I tried to think of what to do. They couldn't do anything but watch on as all the buildings and the village as a whole rose up into the air, completely devastating the village. I also flew to Hanabi at this moment. "Izaya, what's going on? What kind of jutsu is this?" she asked in panic as everything and everyone around her was pulled into the air. Without much time to explain, I simply gave her a comforting smile and teleported her away. Unfortunately, the village was too large and had too many people. Even if I tried, I wouldn't get to all of them in time. Gamabunta and Naruto's other summons deactivated their summoning so as to escape from the technique. I returned to the marker I set earlier and turned to a panicked and shocked Naruto and Sasuke. I quickly racked my brain for the answer, trying not to let the stress of the situation get to me. Then it hit me. Right. In the past it took Itachi, Killer Bee, and Naruto using 3 super powerful long-ranged techniques to stop this. Naruto. Sasuke. Listen to me. No questions, we don't have time, do as I say. Naruto, activate your Sage mode and use your Rasen Shuriken. Don't worry about the aim. Sasuke, I heard from Itachi about a power that comes with the Mangekyou called Susanoo. Focus on your ocular powers and see if you can use that technique. I then placed my hands in front of me as I channeled as much chakra as I could into creating a large golden sphere of energy, the Taiyogen. Together we are going to launch our most powerful long-ranged jutsu into the center of the gravitational pool and try to generate a force great enough to cancel the technique. Naruto gritted his teeth as he channeled his sage energy into a large Rasen Shuriken, and Sasuke struggled to focus as blood seeped down both his eyes as the body of a purple Susanoo surrounded his body. "Now fire!" I said as Naruto unleashed his Rasen Shuriken. I released my great Taiyogen, and Sasuke unleashed his Susanoo's Yaseka Magatama attack. As the 3 long-ranged techniques collided with the core, a loud swing and boom was heard, followed by a bright white light and explosion. Pain widened his eyes in shock as he witnessed his technique being stopped. A powerful wind generated from the force of the impact spreading out everywhere as Sasuke, Naruto, and I were blown away. A giant plume of smoke and debris clouded the area as building parts and people fell from the sky. With my senses I found Deva Payne's body and incapacitated him. Not too far in the distance was the actual Nagato, who was having a hard time breathing as he frowned. Kanan stood beside him, noticing that the situation didn't seem that good. "It appears I have failed," Nagato said dejectedly as he huffed and panted. "Nagato," Kanan said with a soft whisper and worry. At this point I had picked up a black receiver and using my senses I managed to pinpoint the exact location where Nagato was. "It appears I've been discovered," Nagato said. I turned to look at the devastated state of the village and found Naruto kneeling on the ground not far away from me. "Naruto, follow me. We're going to go meet the real Pain." "The real Pain isn't one of these guys," Naruto said in confusion and frustration. I shook my head and replied, "No. Let's go." I disappeared as Naruto followed suit. Tsunade, Kakashi, Hiruzen, Hanabi, and Kimimaro just stood at the edge of the forest as they all took in the event that just unfolded before them in silence. They snapped out of their dazed state soon after as they rushed into the tattered state of the village, trying to save as many people as they could. Sasuke was blown far back towards the stone faces from the earlier explosion that was created as he attempted to catch his breath whilst clutching his eyes. Swish swish. Naruto and I arrived by a tall tree in the forest soon after. "So this is where the real Pain is?" Naruto inquired. "MN." I nodded. As we got to the base of the tree, Naruto started probing it, noticing it was made out of paper instead of being an actual tree. "Naruto," I said. "What is it?" Naruto said, clearly holding back his rage and murderous intent. "Don't be brash. The reason I asked you to come with me was so we can talk to Pain," I replied. Naruto widened his eyes in surprise and anger. Talk. After everything he's done. If it wasn't for Granny, Kyogara would have died long ago. If it wasn't for Pain, the village wouldn't have to suffer. If it wasn't for Pain, then Jiraiya-sensei wouldn't have had to die," Naruto said in anguish. We both stood there in a momentary silence before I said, "Let's go in first. Perhaps you'll understand when we meet Pain face to face. There's no point fighting against someone who's so frail and weak already." Naruto furrowed his brow in confusion. We both ripped a hole and walked in as Kanan quickly ran to stand in front of Nagato. "Wait. Kanan. Step back," Nagato said. "Nagato?" Kanan inquired. "It's fine," Nagato said as Kanan stepped aside whilst Naruto and I walked forward and stopping a few meters away. We both looked and saw a frail-looking man who was skinny to the bones and was hooked up to a machine with black receivers sticking out of his back. "So you're Pain's true form. You're the one who killed Jiraiya-sensei," Naruto said as he stared in a frown. "Jiraiya-sensei, so you are Uzumaki Naruto, the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki and also a student of Jiraiya-sensei," Nagato commented. Naruto furrowed his brow as he said, "Jiraiya-sensei. How dare you say Jiraiya-sensei?" Nagato looked on indifferently and said, "Jiraiya also taught me jutsu. He was my teacher. You could say that I am your senior apprentice under the same teacher." Jiraiya-sensei wished for peace. Naruto gritted his teeth as he said angrily, "Peace? You killed Jiraiya-sensei. Now you attacked the leaf. You call that peace? Do you hate me?" Do you wish to exact vengeance upon me? Nagato said as he stared down at Naruto. He then turned to look at me and said, as for you, you are a skilled shinobi. I don't believe we are acquainted. I am Karasuma Izaya. You must be Nagato. I said and then turned to Kanon and said, you must be Kanon. With a surprised look Nagato said, you know who we are. I nodded my head and replied, I heard it from Lord Fukasaku, the toad who fought Pain alongside Jiraiya. He told us everything that he knew. From there Tsunade recalled the story herself and filled in the gaps. It's not hard to guess who the two of you are. I see. Indeed we are who you say. Nagato replied. Nagato returned his attention to Naruto as he said, what's the matter? I am in front of you now. The one who killed our master. Do you seek revenge? You can obtain it. Why do you hesitate? I turned to look at Naruto who gritted his teeth and clenched his fist as he stared at Nagato's nearly lifeless form. Why? Why did you do it? What the hell are you after? Naruto asked in anguish. Nagato paused in a moment of silence before he answered, my goal is to do what Jiraiya-sensei could not. I'll bring forth peace and justice. Naruto scowled and shouted, justice. Peace. You nearly killed Gaara. You killed Jiraiya-sensei. You attacked the village. Don't you dare spew out such bullshit after everything you did. Nagato looked at Naruto for a few moments before saying, then tell me what your goal is. I'll stop the Akatsuki and bring peace to the world of Shinobi. Naruto responded quickly. I see. That is a splendid goal. That is at the height of justice. Then what about my family? And my friends? Or my village? Does Konoha alone have the right to proclaim peace and justice? After causing the very destruction to my village? Nagato responded. What do you mean? Naruto said with a frown. The Fire Country and Konoha grew too large. To protect their own interests they warred with other great nations and in doing so, securing their own gains was necessary. If they didn't then their nation and villages would be in famine. However, it was our small nation and villages that became the battleground. Time and again our country was invaded and left in tatters and ruins. We suffered through wars that were not of our own choosing many times until finally, the great nations stabilized. All the while our tiny country was only left with pain and ruin in this world. We aim for the same thing. We wish to bring forth the peace that Jiraiya-sensei spoke of. We are no different from each other. We are simply driven by our own sense of justice. The pain of loss is the same for all of us. You and I have both suffered a similar pain. You fight for your justice. And I for mine. We are ordinary humans, driven to seek vengeance in the name of justice. However, if there is justice in vengeance, then justice will breed only more vengeance. And trigger a cycle of hatred. To create peace, how will you face this hatred? What is your answer? Nagato said. For the first time, Naruto felt a sense of loss. He wanted to hate this person in front of him that killed Gaara once. That killed his master Jiraiya-sensei. That attacked the village and left it in ruins. Even though he wanted to hate this person, and even though he was sure he hated this person still, he felt that he could understand some of his pain. Just as he came to understand the loneliness of Sasuke and Gaara. He looked to the ground as he thought about it. He thought about peace. How he would bring peace. Naruto had a complicated look on his face as he softly said, I don't know. Nagato looked at Naruto for a moment in silence before saying, I created Akatsuki for the very purpose of breaking this cycle of hatred. I can stop it. To do that, however, I need the power of the 9 tails. By using the power of all the tailed beasts, I will create a weapon untold times stronger than ever before. Strong enough to destroy an entire country in an instant. I will make true pain known to the world. Deter fighting with fear of that pain, and lead the world to stability and peace. Naruto widened his eyes at that moment and said, but, a peace like that is just a lie. Humans aren't that intelligent. There's no other way of creating peace. After a while that pain will go away after decades have passed. Its deterrence will be degraded, and man will war once more. At that time they will themselves use this all-powerful weapon I've created and reaffirm true pain. And so a short period of peace will be born again. To create these periods of peace through pain that interrupts the endless cycle of hatred, that is my dream. Nagato replied. At this moment I let out a heavy sigh which prompted Nagato and Kanon to turn and look at me. Naruto as well. I turned to look at Naruto and said, Naruto, tell me, do you wish to kill Nagato now that you've seen him? He clenched his fist and gritted his teeth. There's no way I can forgive him. Naruto said without directly giving an answer. However, he couldn't move from his spot as he just stared complicatedly at this weak and frail-looking man. I remained silent for a moment before saying, Naruto. Nagato. You both were students under Jiraiya. Nagato. You learned from Jiraiya that pain can cause people to become closer. Even strangers can become closer by knowing a similar pain than comrades who have known each other for years. Naruto. You learned from Jiraiya of what happiness is and felt like. You learned that one should never give up no matter how difficult the path you walk. You both are students of Jiraiya's, yet you learned 2 very different principles from him. You two are not so different from each other. Nagato, you think you have found an answer for what peace could be. Naruto, you have yet to find your own answer for what peace is. I have spent my own fair share thinking about what peace is and how to obtain it. Peace is not easy to obtain, and I do not believe that the peace you speak of is obtainable at all. Nagato, Nagato, and Kanon just looked on at me wondering what I was saying. What do you mean? Nagato said. I just stared back at all of them for a moment in silence as I recalled my past life that tried to fight for a peace that I now understand was probably unobtainable. World peace. It is a nice assumption to think that something like that might occur, but Nagato, the cruel reality is that there is no such thing as world peace. It is because we are human. Humans have flaws. Humans have desires and emotions. They hate and they love. You think that bringing pain to the world will help you obtain peace. But what will pain really bring you? It will bring you a momentary sense of understanding. When we all know the same pain, we can begin to understand each other. That is true. However, that is but a momentary solace. For every generation or 2, as you said, you would have to perform the same feat over and over and over again. The reason? Because it is also in peace that pain is forgotten. When pain is forgotten, does that mean we must kill others again? Even kill the innocent, all because you wish for each successive generation to know pain? Then this is no different than another cycle that you are creating and deluding yourself that this is a path to peace. Once the cycle becomes the norm, people will despise it. They will adapt to it. It will birth another pain like you. They will try to stop your cycle that you thought was the answer to stop the original cycle. If this is the solution that you think plausible, then you should just erase the world. Can you do that? Wipe out all existences that have ever walked the face of this earth. Do that, and you no longer have to worry about how to bring about peace. The peace you think you are bringing is no peace at all. You will bring this era back into the age of the warring states when there was no village and no shinobi system. It was an age of the first Hokage Hashirama Senju. In those days people fought no matter how old or how young you were. That is the age you will bring about by your way of peace, Nagato. You truly wish for children at the age of 5 to know what war and murder is. You think that you can control the monopoly of war. Foolish. You think that the world will run just because you say run. You think it will turn when you say turn. You could not even save your own members of the Akatsuki. Instead you discard them for your own use just so you can advance your own selfish motives. How will you save the world and bring about peace in this way? Fear will not work. People will eventually adapt to fear. Hatred will not work. People will eventually acclimate to hatred. Love will not work. Not everyone will agree with your same kind of love. Do not underestimate humanity's potential to evolve and adapt. Your great-tailed beast weapon will not work. One day it will fall into the hands of a tyrant who will abuse its power for his own selfish motives, not for maintaining this peace you speak of. You turn to pain because pain is all that you know now. I ask you, do you think you are the only one in this world who had to witness their friends or family or loved ones die right in front of them? Do you think you have the right to judge everyone in the world for the things they have done and the things they have yet to do? Somewhere, someplace, on this earth, there are people who are living happy and peaceful lives. This is unfair and I apologize, but you just happened to be born and raised in the wrong place and at the wrong time. You have the right to be angry. You have the right to despise those who cause wars. You have the right to want to do something and change the world. But if your way of changing the world is to just inflict pain even to those who had no hand in the sufferings of the world, then you are no longer someone who has the right to try and change the world, because now, you are the exact same as those who have done those terrible acts. This is just throwing a tantrum and venting your frustrations and anger and emotions as you seek to justify your actions by calling it a way to bring peace. Don't think that just because you have the Rinnegan that it entitles you to be some sort of chosen one. Did the Rinnegan give you the powers to foresee the future? You said it yourself, you are just a man. You are not God. You are a man who knows incredible pain. But don't think that just because you suffer in pain means you have the right to have others suffer with you. I heard that you had another member amongst you and Kanan called Yoriko. You used his body as your way of communicating to others and his body was the main body for pain. You tried to immortalize him like this and refused to accept the truth. In this action you didn't even have the decency to let his body rest in peace. Tell me, Nagato. If pain brings about peace, then have you found peace in yourself? You have experienced so much pain, but I can tell that you have yet to even make peace with yourself. If you cannot even make peace with yourself, how do you expect the rest of the world to make peace with itself? There is a reason why we are shinobi. It is because no matter how painful our lives may be or become, we endure. We endure and continue to forge ahead. No matter how much hatred we must face, we face it nonetheless. Why? Because we must. It is our duty and it is our right. It is human nature to hate, to love, to fear, to hurt, to want, to need, to live. This is how humanity lives. This is how shinobi live, and through all of this pain, the world still moves on. We endure, and we continue forward. There is only one true peace in this world. And that is the peace that we can bring to ourselves. World peace. Just a vague concept. Everyone has their own world. Nagato. Naruto. Kanon. A world is just a term for the things that you value and hold dear to yourself. When you lose those things, you lose your world. Don't go trying to force your world onto others. I understand Jiraiya's sentiment for wanting world peace. But more than anything, I believe that he just wanted everyone to live their own lives happily. Jiraiya was an eccentric person. He roamed the world looking for the answer to peace, but he did it his own way with a smile on his face. I believe that Jiraiya made peace with himself, and because of that he wanted others to find peace with themselves as well. Jiraiya wanted others to be able to find the same peace with themselves as he did for himself. I don't claim to have an answer to all the questions, but this is the answer that I have come to understand after thinking about what the world is, and what peace is after experiencing the things I have experienced, and from learning the teachings of history and those around me. We all stood there in a moment of silence. After a while Naruto deactivated his Sage mode and Nagato relaxed his body. I see, you said that your name was Izaya, even though you were not a student of Jiraiya-sensei. Perhaps you were the one who understood the things Jiraiya-sensei wanted to teach the most. Indeed. My world has shattered long ago. Unable to save my best friend Yoriko. War brings death, wounds, and pain to both sides. There's nothing harder than accepting the death of a loved one. And we convince ourselves that they cannot die. Especially in your generation who do not know war. You look for meaning in death. But there is only pain and hatred, which you do not understand, that consumes you. People die like trash. An everlasting hatred accompanied by pain that cannot be healed. That is war. This is what you young ones must go against. Whether the path I had chosen was right or wrong, I think I will choose a different choice this time. Perhaps in the very end, I can find peace within myself. Nagato said as he formed the sign of ram and snake, saying, Judo art of Rin rebirth. His hair slowly began turning to white. Nagato! Kanon exclaimed in shock. Nagato coughed up some blood as he said, It's okay Kanon. For the lives that I had killed in Konoha, there is still time for me to save them. I will choose to believe in a different path. Jiraiya-sensei wrote 2 books. The first was flawless like Jiraiya-sensei. The second was a failure like me. Naruto, you are the 3rd book. As your senior apprentice disciple, I couldn't do anything for anyone. I will choose to believe in your story as one that will not end in failure like mine. Whilst you do not yet have an answer for your peace, there is still time for you. However, I no longer have such time. Izaya. Being in your presence and speaking to you made me feel like I was a child once again speaking to Jiraiya-sensei all those years ago. I shall entrust the rest to you both. Naruto, I know you cannot forgive me for what I have done. I hope that you will walk a different path than my own. It wasn't long after that those who did die during the attack on Konoha were revived as Nagato slowly closed his eyes forever. Before anyone could do or say anything, the entire paper tree exploded. Boom boom boom. I quickly formed the sign of rat, dog, tiger and said, wood-style wood dome jutsu. Thick branches of wood quickly enveloped and enclosed around Naruto and I as the entire place exploded. What the hell is happening, Datbeo? Naruto exclaimed in shock. I don't know. I replied in confusion. After a few seconds of the explosion going off, everything finally quieted down. I undid my wood dome jutsu only to see that our surroundings were completely destroyed with both Nagato and Kanon gone. What the hell was that? Naruto asked. I just stared at our surroundings, also befuddled, before I quickly turned my head to our 10 o'clock direction as I sensed a figure atop the tree. You, I said as I frowned. Naruto also turned to look in that direction when I said that and frowned. Yo! Uzumaki Naruto. Karasuma Izaya. Toby said. Whithrara. A cold wind blew past as Naruto and I stood in the ruins of the paper tree that held Kanon and Nagato previously. We stared cautiously at the masked Akatsuki member in the distance as he sat there nonchalantly on a tree branch. You! What the hell did you do? Naruto said with a scowl. Ha ha ha. Well, I came to retrieve Nagato. After all, with Sasuke out of the Akatsuki, it is best for me to secure as much power as I possibly can. Toby said. What do you mean? Naruto asked. Toby took a glance at Naruto before answering, there's no need for you to know. For now at least. He then turned to me and said, you sure placed some intricate seals and barriers around the body of Uchiha Itachi. Even I can't get through without paying some consequences. The third Hokage must place a great deal of trust in your judgment. I furrowed my brow and said, so, you went after Itachi's corpse after all. Still planning to use that as leverage to win over Sasuke. Ha ha ha. Well, it doesn't hurt to try. But it seems I will have to give up on that avenue. In my current state I am not strong enough to bear the consequences of those protective seals on his body for now. I never imagined that Itachi would tell Sasuke the truth. I'm curious what Itachi showed Sasuke that he would be willing to put aside that heart of vengeance of his. I was quite confident in Nagato's ability to capture the Nine Tails, but apparently I thought too highly of him. You also intrigue me, Karasuma Izaya. Toby said. Why so interested? I asked. What is it you desire? I could use a man of your talents. Toby replied. Unfortunately, I'm not interested. I said. Oh. I assure you there are many things I can offer you that Konoha cannot. Toby said, testing the waters. I ignored his offer and said, what I'm more curious about is that you actually visited Itachi's corpse, meaning you bypassed Konoha's barrier without being detected. Itachi called you Uchiha Madara. I find that hard to believe, however, after so many years. Uchiha Madara. Who is that? And why did he visit Itachi's corpse? What the hell is going on? And what did you do with Nagato and Kanon? Naruto asked in frustration. This one has no patience, I see. I took away Nagato's corpse. I also took away Kanon. She'd end up as a thorn in my side after Nagato's death. I'm impressed that you both managed to convince Nagato to revive your fallen comrades in Konoha by sacrificing his life for theirs. What did you say to him to make him change his mind? Toby asked. Give Nagato and Kanon back. Naruto shouted. Ha ha ha. After I just grabbed them, of course I won't just hand them back. Well, if you're not going to talk then that's fine. I was just slightly curious, but since Nagato has failed I have many things left to prepare. Farewell. Toby said as he vanished into thin air. That bastard. Naruto fumed. I let out a sigh. This didn't happen before. Events are definitely changing. I had at the very least wanted for Kanon to join our side. I turned to Naruto and said, Naruto. He's gone. There isn't anything we can do for right now. Let's return to the village first and help repair what damage was done. TSK. Damn it. Naruto said as he clenched his fist. Fwish. Oh. Naruto, you're back. Kakashi said. MN. Naruto said with a complicated look on his face. He looked around at the devastation of the leaf but let out a soft sigh of relief as he realized that Nagato had indeed revived the fallen. He then recalled the things Nagato had said and how he suffered and how he came to his answer. He thought about what he would have done if they had traded places and what he would do continuing forward. A large crowd soon gathered by Naruto as sounds of cheers could be heard when they saw Naruto walk out from the forest. Naruto had a confused look on his face. Kakashi smiled and said, "They're cheering for you, Naruto." Tsunade smiled as well before saying, "Where did you go?" The villagers that had died were miraculously revived. I assume you did something right. By the way, have you seen Izaya anywhere? Naruto looked around for Izaya with confusion but couldn't find him. Just as he was about to say something, I flew to Tsunade's location and said, "I'm here." Izaya. Where did you go? Do you know what's happening? Tsunade asked. I nodded my head and said, I followed Naruto to meet the original pain, Nagato. With his sage mode and my sensory skills we found where he was. After speaking with him we were able to come to understand his perspective of the world. He was different than the other members of the Akatsuki. After coming to an understanding he sacrificed his life to revive those that had fallen in Konoha. If anyone should be thanked it should be Naruto. Tsunade closed her eyes for a moment to take in what I said while Naruto was majorly confused. He hadn't done much at all except get frustrated, sad, melancholy, furious, pained. He had a roller coaster of emotions going on inside of him during the entire time they were speaking to Nagato. He didn't understand what Izaya meant with the explanation he gave Tsunade. Naruto looked at me with an expression that showed he was contemplating something really hard. He then said, Izaya, do you really think that there isn't any way to obtain world peace? I paused in silence for a moment deciding how I should respond, then, an answer surfaced in my mind. I looked at Naruto and said, does there absolutely have to be one? If you want my honest opinion then the truth is, I don't believe there is any way to obtain world peace for everyone. But, just because there isn't a guideline or one absolute way to obtain world peace, that doesn't mean that you or I or anyone else has to stop searching for the answer. In a way, when people constantly search for the answer to world peace they are able to do good in the process. It's only when people look for an easier way out to obtain peace or give up and decide to forget about trying to make the world a better place, that is when the world falls into chaos. So continue looking for the answer. Even if you never find the answer, I'm sure that in the process you will be able to do a lot of good and affect the lives of many people in a positive way. Just like Lord Jiraiya. And you know what, I don't think anyone will ever find the answer, and I don't think that's a bad thing. Why? Because once you have an answer for what world peace is, then what? Do you just stop thinking about how to continue making the world a better place? Essentially, once you have an answer, you are prone to just stop at that point with no way to further improve. If we never find the answer to world peace, then that means that we'll just have to work harder and keep thinking on how to help improve and better the lives of people. I believe that world peace is a journey. And one that's never ending. However, I believe that you can definitely find an answer to your own personal peace. Just as Naruto was about to speak up, I interrupted and said, Naruto, you are Nagato's junior disciple. In the end Jiraiya left his hopes and dreams with you. Nagato also decided to believe in you. His junior disciple. Kakashi also believes that you will one day surpass the fourth Hokage. Tell me, what is your ninja way? Naruto stared at me for a moment before saying, never give up. Never go back on my word. After listening to what Izaya said and reaffirming his resolve, he had a brighter look in his eyes as I nodded in approval, saying, Amen. Good. Always look forward, Naruto, no matter how difficult the path you tread may be. Stand proud before the villagers. You deserve this much. Eh? But what about you? Naruto questioned. I simply dragged him over in front of the villagers and whispered in his ear, Naruto, you'll have to bear this burden for the both of us. Have fun. But, you were the... Naruto started before I cut him off and pushed him towards the villagers. They proceeded to cheer and raise him in the air. I watched on silently. I recalled that I once told Yamato-sensei how I wanted to leave my mark upon the world. Whether that means gaining public recognition and approval, I'm not sure yet. I was always used to never obtaining fame or glory in my past life for any of my missions that I completed. Perhaps my habit of doing things behind the scenes just suits me better, I pondered silently. Tsunade and Hiruzen walked over to me as they asked, Izaya, if you went with Naruto to meet Nagato, where is his body? I frowned at this moment and whispered back to them, the masked man of the Akatsuki appeared out of nowhere and bombed the place we were at. Before we could take any countermeasures, he successfully abducted Nagato. What? TSK. It appears we truly have to hold a 5-Kage summit meeting soon. Tsunade said with gritted teeth. Amen. You should send out a letter, Tsunade. Hiruzen commented. Tsunade let out a sigh as she watched Naruto in the cheering crowd and said, that Naruto. He's truly grown up. By the way, Izaya, what did Naruto say to convince Nagato to revive the villagers? In fact, what kind of technique even is it? I paused for a moment before replying, he chose to believe in Naruto. He used a technique of the Rinnegan, trading his own life for theirs. I see. Tsunade said as she recalled how she also chose to bet on Naruto. All the while Naruto continued to be thrown in the air by the cheering crowd, not even getting a chance to say anything or having a chance to tell everyone about Izaya's part in all of this. Sasuke walked by me at this moment and said, the village is in shambles. I shook my head and said, the buildings are material things. Easily replaceable. People are not. They survived. The village lives on. It just looks a bit messy. What are your plans? Sasuke took a moment to take in what I said. The village lives on through its people. Then what of a clan? Sasuke snapped out of his thoughts and looked up at Izaya, replying, Pain is defeated. I'll leave to find Danza. Wait 3 days. I'll go with you. Give me a chance to help the village get a basic foundation going. I said. Sasuke paused for a moment before nodding. All right. 3 days. Tap. 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 I looked to my left at Yamato and said, Are you ready, Yamato-sensei? He nodded and said, Amen, let's do this. Both Yamato and I weaved the signs of dog, ram, snake and said, wood-style row of houses jutsu. Fwish fwish fwish. After we both performed our jutsu, Yamato turned and stared at me with a look that said unfair as I just smirked. Looks like I win again, Yamato-sensei. You made 8 houses while I made 16. Yamato's eyes widened in shock and said, D-double. You created twice as many houses as I did. Before you only won by 1 or lost by 1. You played me, didn't you? I just laughed and said, Yamato-sensei, you clearly don't gamble much. You always have to give your opponent a bit of hope before you go all in. Yamato just sighed and said, you grew up so fast. That's cheating, Izaya-kun. I stretched my arms and said with a smile, well, how about instead of money we'll do it like this. You owe me 1 meal to ramen, 1 meal to yakiniku, some ninja tools, and a few tickets to the hot springs. Yamato just face-palmed and said, don't you think that it'd be okay to just choose one of those things? I mean, many of those places aren't even up and running yet. Heh. Yamato-sensei, you need to learn that when debt is owed then debt must be collected. Unless of course you are Lord Fifth. Then I don't have anything to say about gambling. I'll just come collect at a later point and time. I said proudly. Yamato just shook his head bemused. As I walked around town I took note of all the villagers working together to properly rebuild and help each other out in this time of difficulty. Poof! A cloud of white smoke appeared on the outskirts of the village revealing one Yuki-Haku. I'm finally back. Now I'll be ready to face pain. He said as he took a step forward and looked at the village only to stop in his tracks the next moment in a daze. What happened? No. Was I too late? Haku questioned as he ran as fast as he could towards the village. As he stood there in the middle of all the construction he had a look of shock. Haku. Kimimaro said as he walked around the corner. Maro. What happened? Don't tell me I was too late. Haku exclaimed. Kimimaro nodded and said, pain attacked a few days ago. But don't worry. It was handled. I know the village looks like it's in terrible shape right now but none of the villagers died. But, really? Nothing bad happened to any of the villagers? Haku asked suspiciously as he saw the state the village was in. Kimimaro just sighed as he proceeded to retell Haku of the events. After taking a look around the town I ended up packing everything I needed to leave on my journey with Sajuke to find Danza. The 3-day wait is up. I'll meet Sajuke outside the village, I noted as I started my walk out. I stopped around the corner as I saw that Haku was back beside Kimimaro. Both of them were walking and stopped outside the Hyuga residence as they started talking to Hanabi. I smiled at the scene of the 3 closest people to my heart getting along. Hey! I said as I walked towards them. Big brother! Haku exclaimed as he jogged towards me. I feel ashamed. I left to go train under Maju so I'd be strong enough to help out against pain but I didn't even make it in time. He said. I poked his forehead and said, there are greater enemies out there than just pain. Don't stop training, Haku. Don't get me wrong, we would have been glad if you were with us, but things turned out all right in the end. Don't beat yourself up over it. Amen. Haku nodded. Izaya. Hanabi smiled at me. My lady. I replied teasingly as I bowed. HMPF. Always joking around. She pouted. I smiled and said seriously, it's actually a good thing the 3 of you are together. I have something to tell you all. The 3 of them focused their attention on me after the words left my mouth. I turned to look at Hanabi as I said, I told you that if I were ever to leave for an extended period of time again that I'd let you know first. After she heard me say that her heartbeat quickened. She and her father ended up delaying the trip to the Take-Tori clan due to the attack, and she hoped she could spend some extra time with Izaya before she had to leave for the trip, but it turns out Izaya was leaving first. "Where are you going exactly?" "Haku and I will accompany you," Kimimaro said. "Big brother, although I just got back, I'm ready to go anytime," Haku said. I shook my head and replied, "I'm leaving on a journey with Sasuke. I'm not sure how long it'll take. Could be a week. Could be a year. This is a journey that Sasuke and I have to do on our own. It's personal. Please understand. TSK. I feel like you keep leaving Maro and I out of things," Haku grumbled. Kimimaro nodded in agreement and said, "Right. We still haven't forgotten the attack incident when you just up and left." I smiled, saying, "That's because we're brothers. There's no need for too many words between us." Kimimaro and Haku just sighed, defeated. It was their weak spot. Of course, no matter what Izaya did, as sworn brothers they would always choose to believe in the decisions of their brother in the end, even though they may end up not liking it. I walked up to Haku and Kimimaro and pulled them into a tight hug and said, "Please don't worry about me. Just cause I'm not taking you guys with me doesn't mean I won't see you guys at all. You carry my special kunai after all. Keep training and become stronger. Remember all those years ago during the Chunin exams in the Forest of Death? What did I tell you both?" Both Kimimaro and Haku looked at me seriously as they recalled that memory and said at the same time, "We should always remember that the three of us are sworn brothers and will be there for each other forever. But we also need to realize that in order to grow stronger, sometimes we need to walk certain paths alone. As long as we do not forget where our heart is supposed to be, we will never lose our way." I nodded in approval and said, "Haku, you are already beginning to find your path, and in the end you are becoming stronger and stronger, yet you never forget about us. You left to train and even came back as soon as you could. Continue doing what you are doing. You're on the right track." I turned to Kimimaro and said, "Maro. With the pain incident over, I assume Haku might return and continue his training from before. Take this time to find out how you'll develop your own ninja way. I'll be awaiting to see both of your progress the next we meet. Amen. Send for us if you need our help at any time then," Kimimaro and Haku said. I nodded as I turned to look at Hanabi, who had a frustrated look on her face. "Hanabi," I said softly. "You idiot," she replied. I smiled at her as I said, "I'm sorry." She pouted and turned her head away. "No. Stop saying that. You're always apologizing to me, it doesn't sound genuine anymore." After a moment of silence she sighed and said, "I know I can't keep you here. You're a shinobi and have a lot of things you need to do. I've always trained hard because I am the next in line as the Hyuga head, but I feel like I'm lagging too far behind you." Heh. Don't worry, Hanabi. We also feel like we're being thrown away, Haku said jokingly as Kimimaro nodded in agreement. Ha ha ha. I laughed awkwardly as I thought, Haku and Kimimaro are going to keep using the attack incident as a way to guilt trip me for a long time, aren't they? In that moment Hanabi stepped out and embraced me in a tight hug. "Don't forget about me. I'm gonna train even harder now. Just you wait, next time we see each other I'll beat you to a pulp." I wrapped my arms around her as we embraced for a few moments before we let go. I took off my necklace that had a small flying thunder god ornament on it and placed it around Hanabi's neck. "Hold on to this. I'll be back for it," I said as I disappeared. HMPF. I said this before and I'll say this again. That guy really just demands stuff and then just disappears. She huffed before a smile graced her lips. She lightly touched the necklace and then turned to Kimimaro saying, Maro. If Haku is going to train again, then how about you and I train? I heard that you have a knack for taijutsu. Fwish. Sajuke turned at this moment and saw Izaya. I was beginning to think you decided not to come. Sajuke said. Sorry, I had some things to take care of first. Did you finish your goodbyes? I asked. Sajuke paused for a moment as he recalled his incredibly super long goodbye to Naruto and Sakura. Flashback. Sajuke, you just got back to the village. At least stay a while first. Naruto protested. Sakura momentarily paused in silence and in deep thought before saying, Sajuke-kun, at least, let me come with you. I can help. Sajuke took a look at Sakura as he thought about it. It was true that Sakura wasn't that weak little girl she was in the past. He didn't really know what helped her change so much, but when he secretly watched her training the other day, he was actually a bit shocked at her progress. Not only did she possess a monstrously overwhelming strength, but her taijutsu skills were also above average. She could even perform some above-average genjutsu, and her medical ninjutsu was even better than all of those. In fact, what shocked Sajuke the most was that her fine control over chakra was even better than his own. But in the end, Sajuke shook his head and said, I appreciate the offer. But no. This journey of mine is personal. I need some time to think about what I want to do. I need to sort out my thoughts. Until I figure out my own feelings, I think it's best for me to be away from the village for a while. I'll travel with Izaya for a bit since we both have a debt to settle with Danza. But, TSK. Then let me come too. I'll clobber Danza. I can't believe the things he's done. Naruto said through gritted teeth. Sajuke just sighed as he thought to himself, didn't he just hear what I said? I told him it was personal. Sakura wanted to protest but held back. She looked up and said, Sajuke. I've always believed in you. I'll believe in you this time too. I actually thought this might happen. Sajuke was surprised at how accommodating Sakura was being right now. Sakura pulled out a box and handed it over to Sajuke. What's this? He asked as he grabbed the box. These are soldier pills. If you find yourself in a bind, then use these. They can help replenish your chakra and stamina. A few are enough to last you 3 days and nights without rest. But make sure you find a safe place within those 3 days, as you'll be exhausted after the effect wears off. She replied. Sajuke was surprised that Sakura predicted their parting and had prepared in advance. Naruto stared suspiciously at the pill box as he recalled eating some of Sakura's soldier pills before and remembered how terrible they tasted. Cold sweat dripped down his forehead, but he elected not to say anything. Poof! White smoke appeared in the room as Kakashi appeared. Yo! He said. Kakashi. Sajuke said. So you're going after Danza, eh? He commented. So you knew. Sajuke replied. Well. It wasn't that hard to guess. Izaya is going with you, isn't he? Kakashi replied. He is. Sajuke once again replied with short sentences. Kakashi let out a sigh and said, I understand. Sajuke. Be careful. Don't try to do everything on your own. Team 7 will wait for your return. Sajuke paused in silence for a few moments before nodding his head and walked towards the door. Sajuke. Naruto shouted, prompting Sasuke to stop and turn around. "What is it?" he asked. Naruto put on a big goofy smile as he threw Sasuke's old leaf forehead protector to him and said, "Heh, don't slack off." Sasuke caught his forehead protector that had a scratch through the leaf symbol and recalled his old rivalry with Naruto before smirking and saying, "Heh. Right back at you." Sakura walked over to Sasuke with the best smile she could muster despite feeling dejected and said, "Sasuke-kun, be careful." Sasuke stared in silence at Sakura for a moment before he poked her forehead and said, "Sorry. Maybe next time." He then disappeared in a puff of smoke. End flashback. I stared at Sasuke for a long while as he seemed lost in thought. Guess it was quite a long goodbye, I mentally noted. Ahem. Well, seems like it went well. Shall we? I said, snapping Sasuke out of his thoughts. Let's go. Sasuke replied as we both dashed off looking for any clues of Danza's whereabouts. Tap. 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 The sounds of a cane tapping the floor resounded in the dimly lit hallway as Danza walked through the area before coming to a stop and sighed to himself. It appears he's not here either. He commented to no one in particular. Swish. Torun appeared before Danza at this moment and said, reporting Lord Danza. There is no sign of Yakushi Kabuto. It appears he has not been in this base for quite a while. Danza stared at Torun for a moment before replying, I see. He most likely knows of my deep past connection with Orochimaru, so he must also have data regarding the Sharingan and the Uchiha clan. I need another eye to replace the one that I lost to Izaya. Danza gritted his teeth and clenched his fist in anger at the thought of Izaya. Just thinking about Izaya made him angry beyond comparison. He never thought he could hate someone so much before. He lost so many of his elite root members. He lost Shisui Izai to him. And he was removed from his position as an elder. What he couldn't understand was that even with the many preparations he prepared and the elite Anbu he sent, Izaya still survived whilst none of his root members returned from that battle. This was completely unfathomable to him. If he reversed the role and put himself in that situation, even with the forbidden Izanagi technique which could grant him a total of 10 minutes of invincibility, his chances of survival against the onslaught of the root members assigned the task would be extremely slim. He doubted whether he could have survived at all, so he was baffled at the fact that not only did Izaya survive, but he had even successfully killed all the members he sent after him. Swish. At this moment Yamane Kafu arrived. He had miraculously survived the attack from Kimimaro way back then, although he felt a lingering hint of fear at the ability Kimimaro had displayed and at how easily Kimimaro had incapacitated him. Reporting Lord Danza. Konoha was attacked by the Akatsuki leader known as Pain. He was defeated by the collective might of Tsunade, Hiruzen, Kakashi, Kimimaro, Naruto, Sasuke, and Izaya. The village was extensively damaged, but miraculously none of the villagers had died. Tsunade was going to send a letter to call for a 5-Kage summit meeting, however, it appears that the 4th Raikage had already sent a letter out calling for a meeting first. Apparently not long before the attack on Konoha, the village hidden in the clouds was attacked by 2 members of the Akatsuki. They were Hoshigeki Kai's-Aim and Momo Kai's Abuser. 2 members of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. They nearly succeeded in capturing the 8 tails, however, the Raikage was able to make it in time to save the Jinchuriki. Fu said, finishing his report. Danza frowned. TSK. I knew Tsunade and Hiruzen were too soft. even if none of the villagers died in that attack, to let such a disaster fall onto the Leaf Village. They don't have what it takes to properly lead the village. It's unfortunate that Tsunade and Hiruzen didn't pass away in that attack. If they did, I could return and convince Homura and Koharu to reinstate my position and lead the village as its Hokage. Danza lamented. What are your orders, Lord Danza? Torun asked. HMPF. Sai has elected to betray me. He no longer sends me reports on the village and Uzumaki Naruto. It's a good thing that I placed a seal on his tongue, preventing him from speaking about me. Let us return to our hideout for the time being while we wait for things to stir up a bit. I feel a change in the winds. Perhaps we will be dealt a better hand in the near future. Danza replied. Yes. Torun and Fu responded as all three of them disappeared from the cave corridor. 888. Sage Art Rasengan. Naruto shouted as he dashed towards Haku. Haku jumped back and dashed to his side, only to be surprised seeing more than 10 of Naruto's shadow clones. They quickly pounced on him, prompting Haku to dodge left and right, up and down as he avoided punches, kicks, elbow jabs, and grapples. At this moment a Naruto appeared in the air above Haku and smashed a Rasengan into his back. Ku! Haku exclaimed as he spit out some blood from the force of the impact. However, in the next moment he turned into nothing but a pile of water. A water clone! Naruto exclaimed. Haku appeared by the riverside at this moment and weaved the hand signs of the water dragon jutsu, clapping his hands in the end, changing the elemental nature to ice, and said, Sage Art Ice Style Ice Dragon Jutsu. Crap! Naruto exclaimed as a ferocious beast of an ice dragon with wings crashed into him and all the clones at that moment. A large amount of white smoke puffed into the air as all the clones were destroyed upon impact with the dragon. All that was left in that spot was a large crystalline wall of ice. The real Naruto appeared high above the air as it fell down towards Haku as he said, Sage Art Big Ball Rasengan. Haku quickly formed the hand signs of bird, horse, ram, bird and said, Sage Art Wind Style Gale Force Jutsu. Before Naruto could descend too far, a huge stream of wind swept Naruto away and into the river a few dozen meters away from Haku, causing his attack to create a large wave of water to spring into the air before it fell back down. Haku then formed the signs of tiger, bird, boar, rat and clapped his hands saying, Sage Art Wind Style Air Cannon Jutsu. He then took a deep breath and exhaled an extremely powerful blast of air at Naruto. Naruto jumped out of the water at this moment, only to be met with a cannon of air. Shit! Naruto exclaimed. He formed the clone hand sign and said, Shadow Clone Jutsu. Thousands upon thousands of Naruto clones appeared in front of him as they took on the brunt of the air cannon, while one of the clones successfully pulled Naruto out of the way. The air cannon, fueled by natural energy, was powerful enough to destroy more than half of the thousands of clones. Huff! 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 Naruto stood on the opposite side of the river, panting at the close call. He had a yellow/orange coloration surrounded his eyes and a horizontal pupil as proof of his mastery over Sage Mode. He stared at Haku, trying to catch his breath. Haku nodded in approval at Naruto's excellent counter to his technique as he stood there with the tattoos of blue-colored waves printed on his left and right cheeks, the tattoo of two blue small carps chasing each other on his forehead, and with a light blue coloration around his eyes. This was proof of Haku's mastery over his own Sage Mode. On a tree branch not far from where Naruto and Haku were training stood Kakashi with a book in his hand as he commented to himself, "These kids sure have gotten a lot stronger." Apparently after learning that they both could use Sage Mode, they decided to test their skills against each other. I know they asked me to watch over their training, but I'm not sure I would even have a chance to intervene at this point. 888. Bang. Boom. Swish. Bang. Bang. Swish. Skid. Skid. Huff. 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 Again. Hanabi shouted as she panted and resumed a fighting stance. Kimimro resumed a defensive stance and said, "Very well. Come." Hanabi dashed forward with a palm strike, prompting Kimimro to block with his own palm. Hanabi performed several attacking movements, striking, sweeping, kicking, throwing, jabbing, punching, kneeing, slashing, and thrusting. Kimimro was secretly surprised at Hanabi's taijutsu skills, as he recognized many of the techniques she employed, as he thought her strikes and movements are similar to Izaya's. He must have trained her in some taijutsu before in the past. Although her skills are still unrefined, it's a good start to a strong foundation. No wonder she asked me to help train her. Many of my own foundational taijutsu skills were passed on to me from Izaya as well. After gaining a good foundation, Izaya left the task of perfecting the taijutsu skills he began creating up to me, such as the 8 extreme fists, the 3 sovereign hands, and the 9 dragons breathing technique. Kimimro dodged to his side and blocked against Hanabi's jab before stopping his fist just an inch away from her face, prompting them both to pause. Huff. 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 I can keep going, Hanabi said as she tried to catch her breath. Kimimro shook his head. No. This is good enough. We've been sparring for more than a few hours already. Take this time to meditate on the fight and try to glean some insight from it. Tomorrow I will pass on to you the techniques Izaya taught me to build a strong foundation. You'll improve rapidly. I can tell you already practiced some of the basic movements of Izaya's taijutsu. Although you are skillful in taijutsu, you shouldn't neglect your ninjutsu training. Hanabi nodded and said, "All right. Thanks for helping me train Maro." He nodded and said, "I'm curious though. When did Izaya have the time to help you train? From the way you fought, it definitely wasn't just a day or two's worth of training." "Heh. It was back when you were still recuperating from your disease. I'd visit Izaya at the training fields sometimes. On those days he would set aside his own personal training just to hang out with me. I asked him one day to jokingly help me practice my taijutsu, but he took it seriously. I knew he was strong since my cousin Neji told me he was, but you never really believe it until you see it with your own eyes. I prided myself in my taijutsu skills, but that day I realized the true meaning of the saying that there is always a man beyond the man, and skies beyond the sky." Although he said he'd help continue watching my training, in the end he still disappeared without saying anything for more than 2 years. Hanabi said as she reminisced about those days and then grumbled at the end. Kimimro turned to look at Hanabi and smiled, saying, "You once asked me if you could be my big sister. But rather than big sister, I think it'd be more appropriate to say that you'd be my little sister-in-law." Hanabi's face turned a shade of red at his comment. What do you mean? Izaya and I aren't, I mean. He hasn't said anything to me like that yet, unless, did he say something about me to you? Kimimro shook his head in response. No. He hasn't said anything. But he gave you his necklace. Doesn't that mean something? And he even hugged you. Well, I suppose he hugged Haku and I too before he left. Maybe I overthought it. HMPF. I got my hopes up for nothing. Hanabi mumbled to herself. What was that? I didn't hear. Kimimro said. Nothing. If there's nothing else for today then I'll head back first. Hanabi said. Amen. Kimimro nodded. Hanabi walked off back to the Hyuga residence as she clutched the necklace Izaya gave her. You better be all right, she whispered to herself. 888. Knock knock. Creak. Hiruzen walked into the Hokage office which Tsunade was currently in. Sarutabi-sensei. What are you doing here? Tsunade asked. Have you decided who you are taking with you to the 5-Kage summit? Hiruzen inquired. Tsunade thought for a moment before saying, I'm guessing you aren't tagging along, eh? Ha ha ha. Well, while it would be nice to see the old faces of some of the Kage not during war between villages, I am not the current Hokage. Also, if both you and I attend then that would be a show of too much force and disrespect with 2 Kages attending from Konoha. While you attend the Kage summit I will remain here in Konoha to ensure nothing goes awry. Hiruzen replied. Tsunade just let out a sigh and said, it's going to be a pain. I feel like the other Kages are much too serious for their own good. Ha ha ha. Well, perhaps the Sushikage Onaki will be a bit tough to crack. The Reikage is a bit hot-tempered and the Mitsukage is quite new, so I've yet to officially meet her in person. You already know the Kazekage. So, who are you taking? You need capable bodyguards. At most, you should take 2. The summit is being held in the Land of Iron with Mifune, the samurai, acting as moderator. Hiruzen commented. Ha ha. Tsunade let out a sigh as she racked her brains about who she would take. Should I take Shitsune or not? I would have liked to take Izaya, but he left with Sasuke to search for Danza. TSK, I forgot to tell him that he was a Jonin now. Haku will be leaving to continue his training soon. With Naruto's personality he's a no-go. Oh, Kakashi then. MN. Yamato, Guy, and Asuma are highly skilled Jonin with a lot of experience. Should anything go wrong they'll be able to help the old man. I'll have Shitsune stay in Konoha as well just in case. Then, other than Kakashi I'll take Kimimro. He's proven that he's just as capable of a shinobi as Kakashi. Tsunade looked up at Hiruzen and said, then I'll take Kakashi and Kimimro. Oh. MN. Yes, excellent choices. With them by your side then nothing untoward should happen. And even if something does happen, you should be able to face just about any dangerous situation without worry. Hiruzen contemplated and noted. Then we'll set out in 2 days. Shitsune, go inform Kakashi and Kimimro. Tsunade said. Yes. Shitsune replied. 2 days later. Fwish. Dash. Whoosh. 3 figures dashed across the snowy forest through the Land of Iron as the cold wind blew past their faces. Ah, so cold. Kakashi lamented as he followed behind Tsunade. Heh, we're almost there. No complaining. I'd also prefer being in a warm cozy hot spring right now. Tsunade replied. So this is the Land of Iron. I was expecting a place full of rocky mountains, not snow. Kimimro commented, seemingly unperturbed by the cold. Kakashi glanced over at him and wondered to himself, is it because of his Kekii Genkai and bones being as tough as steel that he doesn't feel that cold? He then responded to Kimimro's comment saying, the Land of Iron is unique as it's a place ruled by samurai. I see. How interesting. I wonder what the other Kage are like. Kimimro said. Fwoosh. All three of them landed at this moment in front of a large building where the summit was being held. In front of them were samurai guards and an old man with his head wrapped in bandages awaiting them. Lord Hokage. Welcome, we have been expecting your presence. Myfune said. Amen. After you, Myfune. Tsunade replied. You must be weary from the cold and the journey. We have prepared some hot tea to help warm you all up. Myfune said as he led the three into the building. It's quite large inside. Kimimaro noted. After they were settled in, it wasn't long before the rest of the Kids arrived. They didn't have to wait long before all 5 Kids and their bodyguards and advisors arrived and stood before the semicircular table by their respective seats as Myfune, the head of the neutral faction, stood by the table in front of the others. After Myfune took his seat, the 4th Reikage took his seat as his companions Derue and C took a seat behind the curtains. The 3rd Sushikage Onaki took his seat next as his companions Akatsuchi and Kurotsuchi took their seats behind the curtain. As the 5th Hokage, Tsunade took her seat afterwards as Kimimaro and Kakashi took their seats. Gaara, the 5th Kazekage and his companions Kankuro and Tamrai took their seats, followed by the 5th Mitsukage Mai and her companions Ao and Chojuro. Well then. Now that we have all settled in, I hereby declare the start of the 5 Kage Summit meeting. I shall serve as your moderators and as the representative for the neutral factions. Myfune said. Onaki turned to Tsunade at this moment and commented, Heh. If it isn't the Slug Princess Tsunade. I see that the old man Hiruzen didn't come. Tsunade sighed inwardly as she took note of the old rock geezer. She smiled and said, Ha ha ha, he may be getting on his years now, but his back is still quite good. Goo. Onaki coughed out as he felt an ache at Tsunade's hidden joke about his back. Kurotsuchi just facepalmed behind the curtains at Onaki's attempt to rile up Tsunade. Let's get on with the main subject. I called for the 5 Kage Summit so as to discuss the Akatsuki. They have gotten out of hand. Not only did they manage to abduct Yujito, the Jinchuriki of the 2 tails, from us, but they even had the nerve to attack my younger brother B. They nearly succeeded in capturing him and ended up seriously injuring him. If I didn't make it in time, he could have died. I said. The Akatsuki, indeed something needs to be done about them, however, we don't have much information on their organization. What is their strength? Where are they currently stationed? What is their purpose? Gaara said. I heard that there is a possibility of the true leader behind Akatsuki being Uchiha Madara. Tsunade said. What? The other Kages exclaimed. Isn't he supposed to be dead? Onaki asked in disbelief. Are you sure about this? Is he immortal? I replied. Perhaps he truly is a monster. Onaki said as he felt cold sweat drip behind his back. Madara, one of the founders of Konoha and a man said to rival Senju Hashirama. Gaara said in contemplation. If it is Madara, what could he possibly be planning? Mai said aloud. There was a moment of silence between all of the Kage, including Myfune, in the room before they continued their discussion. 888. Swish. Dash. 2 figures dashed through the forest before they stopped a few miles out from a cave entrance. This must be it. Sasuke said to Izaya. Izaya nodded his head and said, Amen. Seems like it. After 2 weeks of searching, we finally got a good lead. We'll have to be careful. We don't know what kind of traps Danza might have prepared beforehand. As they walked into the cave entrance, Izaya focused his senses to search for the possibility of there being traps as he searched for Danza. He furrowed his brow as he turned to Sasuke and whispered, "This will be tougher than I thought." "What is it?" Sasuke whispered back. "I can't be 100% certain if Danza is here or not. There are multiple signatures, but they all give off a similar aura. It can fool an amateur into thinking it is just one person using the shadow clone technique, but I'm not easy to fool. I can tell they are different. The thing is, even though I can tell they are different, I can't tell which one is Danza. Must be a high-level and complicated disguising technique Danza set up for extra precaution. Take this," Izaya said as he handed Sasuke a special kunai. "If I find Danza, I'll fly to your location and bring you to him. We'll split up from this point to cover more ground and search individually. You should know how Danza looks like from what attack I showed you, right?" Izaya asked. "MN." Sasuke nodded. "Good. Be careful not to make a ruckus until you actually find Danza, or else we'll risk him escaping," Izaya reminded. "You too," Sasuke said before they dashed off in different directions. Tap. 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 Izaya laid in wait around the corner, hidden in the shadows, as he heard the footsteps of someone approach his destination. Just as they turned the corner, he struck with his right hand straight at their windpipe to prevent them shouting and quickly knocked them out before slowly dragging their body to the floor and into the shadows. After confirming that no one else was approaching within the vicinity, he removed his blindfold and opened the eye of the unconscious Rutanbu using the powers of my Sharingan to search through his memories. After a few moments passed, he placed his blindfold back on and killed him. So, Danza is on the floor below this one. It also appears that they've been searching for Kabuto so Danza could obtain a Sharingan replacement for his right eye. After that, he wants to kill Kabuto to keep his mouth shut. It seems Danza is waiting for something drastic to happen in the outside world first before he decides on his next moves. Izaya whispered to himself as he continued navigating the area while thinking to himself, "I'm sure Sasuke has found similar information if he used the same tactic I did." While he moves to find Danza, there's another piece of interesting information I got from that Rutanbu. Apparently some of the Rutanbu out gathering data from various countries stumbled upon a region of intense murderous aura, and all signs of life were void in that area. I'll check out the room that has more info first before heading down to Danza. Just as Izaya was about to turn a corner, he quickly stopped and jumped up on the ceiling. 3 Anbu walked past the spot he was just at as they discussed amongst themselves. Apparently Sai is now on the list of traitors and targets to be eliminated. Well, we suspected as such. What a shame. His skills were quite valuable to Root. An order is an order. What I'm more concerned about is that guy Karasuma Izaya. I know we were ordered to kill him, but how did he even manage to survive after the last assassination attempt? Even Lord Danza wouldn't have been able to survive an attack like that. Who knows? Let's not think about it further for now. A few of our Anbu went to check out that region of intense murderous aura, but none of them came back. I wonder what the hell that place is. Forget it, let's just worry about our current mission. Izaya stood hidden on the ceiling as he listened to their voices get farther and farther away until they were finally out of earshot. He dropped back down without a noise with a thoughtful look as he got more interested in this strange region that they discovered. He dashed past a dimly lit corridor and arrived in front of a stone door marked with a sealing formula to keep others out that don't know the key to the sealing formula. He stretched his arms and cracked his knuckles as he smirked. Only good enough to keep amateurs out. He commented to himself. Izaya formed the signs of rat, ox, horse, bird, dragon, tiger, boar, dog, snake, hare, ram and said, reverse lock unsealing jutsu. He placed his hand over the seal as a dim blue light seeped into the seal on the door bypassing the original specific unsealing formula and deactivated the sealing mechanism. He smiled and thought, worked like a charm. I suppose Danza can't make the seal too difficult or these amateur root and Bu would never be able to get in. He walked in the door and closed it behind him. He was met with a dimly lit room and a large table with a bunch of books, scrolls, and paper lying around with tons of information on them. Now then Danza, let's take a look at what you've been up to, he said, voicing his thoughts. Kimimaro and Kakashi sat in complete silence and boredom along with the other guards and advisors of the other great villages while the 5 Kage continued their talks. Oh, the Reikage spoke at this moment. Oi Mitsukage, you should be ashamed. There are rumors going around that Akatsuki was founded in your village. Mai sighed with an apologetic face as she said, well, now that we've come to this point there's no point in trying to hide it. There were rumors going around that the 4th Mitsukage Higuro was being manipulated in the shadows by the Akatsuki. Under his rule the village hidden in the mist became even more cruel and corrupt. We in the resistance fought hard and eventually regained control. We wanted to suppress the rumors going around so as to try and rebuild the reputation for the hidden mist village and stabilize the situation. I continued to shout in frustration. HMPF. Konoha, Iwa, Suna, Kiri, Akatsuki was mainly formed from missing ninja of your villages. And now we learn that it might be Uchiha Madara behind the Akatsuki. Not only that. Mitsukage, it was 2 Shinobi of the 7 swordsmen of the mist that attacked my brother B. Momokai's abuser and Hoshigeki Kai's aim. Those bastards managed to escape. I still haven't paid them back for what they did. And Onaki, you even used and hired the Akatsuki in the past. Onaki sat in his seat with a look of annoyance before glancing at us saying, TSK. And whose fault is that? If only Kumogakyo had stuck to the previous agreement for each nation to reduce their military might, we would not have had to resort to using the mercenary group known as Akatsuki. Instead of honoring the agreement, Kumo instead secretly expanded their military and stole secret information from other villages. What did you say? I exclaimed with a glare while smashing his fist on the table in front of him. Gaara let out a sigh before speaking. We have all suffered at the hands of the Akatsuki. They have brought ruin, destruction, and pain to all of us. Orochimaru killed the 4th Kazekage and attacked Konoha. Pain destroyed much of Konoha's foundation. Deidara destroyed many of Iwagakyo's foundations as well. Kai's aim and Zabuza have dealt a heavy blow to Kumogakyo, and the 4th Mitsukage was even manipulated by the Akatsuki. They have collected and extracted many of the tailed beasts for unknown reasons. We know that their power reaches far, but we don't know how far. What do they plan to do with the power of the tailed beasts? And if it is truly Uchiha Madara behind the Akatsuki, then it is all the more reason that we need to decide how we shall proceed forward. It will be too much for any one nation to handle on their own. Onaki smirked as he glanced at Gaara and then at O. Heh. Kazekage, you are still a youngling. You gave a good summary and have an optimistic outlook, but even if you mean well, you have not had the chance to experience the hidden dangers of political agreements amongst nations. As you can see, even if we come to an agreement here, it does not mean that others will uphold their end of the deal. The Reikage clenched his fist as a thick vein popped out of his forehead in annoyance and anger while he stared at Onaki's underlying meaning. Tsunade and Mai just watched in silence as the Sushikage and Reikage argued with each other for a bit. TSK. A stubborn old rock and a hot-tempered muscle-head. Tsunade clicked her tongue as she silently mumbled to herself. Gaara closed his eyes in deep contemplation before speaking once more. In the end we cannot trust each other. If that is how humanity looks at the world, then we have no future. Onaki raised his eyebrow at Gaara. What is it you want to say? Gaara paused momentarily in silence before looking straight at him. Obstructing ourselves from understanding and trusting each other will only breed a world of fear. To submit oneself with no regard for what is right is something I find difficult to accept. Onaki had a look of indifference as he responded, "You speak of such difficult matters as if it were easy. What does a brat that's still ignorant in governing his own village know? Feel free to take this opportunity to ask anything you'd like. Your elders here will be more than happy to answer any questions you may have." "Then let me ask you this." Gaara replied. "Sure, I'll answer anything you'd like, kiddo," Onaki said with an air of arrogance. "When was it that you gave up on yourselves?" Onaki was taken aback by Gaara's question. Mai smiled as she thought, what a pure-hearted boy. Tsunade also laughed inwardly and smiled thinking, good job Kazekage, putting that old stone in his place. Mai Fune noticed that the tension in the room finally died down a bit and so he chose this time to speak up. Well, as the representative of the neutral factions and as moderator for the summit I propose that we form an allied Shinobi alliance until the Akatsuki is dealt with. Allied Shinobi Alliance. Mai whispered aloud as she contemplated the prospect. Boom. All the Kids let out a surprised expression as they felt the building shake. All the bodyguards and advisors jumped out to protect their respective Kij at this moment. Swish swish. Kakashi and Kimimaro immediately appeared beside Tsunade in a battle-ready stance. "What's happening?" I questioned. One of Mai's bodyguards turned towards the direction of the commotion and activated his Bakugan. It seems we are under attack. What monstrous chakra? It's the Akatsuki. 2 members. Momo Kai's abuser and Hoshigeki Kai's aim. Ao said as he relayed to everyone what he was seeing. Hearing the names Zabuza and Kaizama became immediately incensed and shouted, "What?" as he recalled how Zabuza and Kaizama nearly captured B. He quickly disappeared from the room and charged out. Mai frowned as she felt partly responsible since both of the Akatsuki members attacking were from Kirigakyo. She stood up and said, "Ao, Chojuro, follow me. They are missing ninja from our village and it is our responsibility to get rid of them." "Yes." Ao and Chojuro acknowledged as they rushed out with her. "What now, Gaara?" Tamrai asked while Kankuro waited on standby. Gaara paused thinking momentarily to himself before saying, "Let's go take a look. If things turn bad we shall lend a helping hand." Mn. Tamrai and Kankuro nodded as they all left as well. Kurotsuchi looked at Onaki before asking, "Well, what should we do?" HMPF. The Reikage, Mitsukage, and Kazekage went to deal with the matter already. There's no need for us to move. Besides, what if my back acts up again? Tsunade scowled. "TSK, Kimimaro, Kakashi, come with me. I'll go in case there are any injuries." "Yes." Kimimaro and Kakashi nodded as they followed her out, leaving only Onaki and Mai Fune in the room. Swish. Splash. Whoosh. Tsunade, Kakashi, and Kimimaro stood still as they saw the Raikage fight against the intruders in the giant hole they walked through just earlier in the day, as it was completely filled with water like it were a giant lake. Kakashi stood there and marveled at the amount of water in the room. To create so much water and fill up this giant hole requires not only an incredibly skilled water style user but also an enormous amount of chakra. Boom. Splish. Splash. Ting. Bang. TSK. You Akatsuki bastards! I shouted as he stood atop the water after exchanging some moves with them. He, the Raikage sure is fast. Kai'Same commented as he stood atop the water with same harder in his hand. Zabuza stood beside Kai'Same with his executioner's blade in hand as he commented, HMPF. Let's just kill one of them and be done with it. Even with the both of us it'd be a tall order to take on all 5 Kage at once. Mai frowned as she said, since you've both delivered yourself to our doorstep you can forget about leaving alive. She quickly formed the hand signs of dog, boar, tiger, ox, rat, bird and said, lava-style lava monster jutsu. A large murky acidic fluid shot forth covering a wide area as she attempted to heavily injure both Kai'Same and Zabuza. Kai'Same quickly clapped his hands together, formed the snake hand sign, and placed his hands in the shape of a shark opening its mouth as he said, water-style super shark bomb jutsu. A gigantic shark made of water shot forth as it gobbled up the acidic fluid filled with chakra. The corrosive nature of the lava melted away the shark, however, the shark's absorption of chakra from the lava allowed it to repair itself and grow, causing both techniques to cancel each other out in the end. Mai raised her eyebrows in surprise that Kai'Same was able to stop her technique. At this moment the Raikage cloaked in his lightning armor dashed over to Kai'Same and struck with his fist, prompting Zabuza to slash horizontally with his executioner's blade. I was inwardly surprised that Zabuza would slash at him like this since he was already so close to Kai'Same, prompting a quick thought to flash past his mind, If he doesn't stop his sword swing then it would not only strike me but also cut his partner in half. I raised his left arm that had a giant gold metal armor brace on it to block Zabuza's strike whilst using his right fist and punched straight through Kai'Same. Twish. Cling. A's fist struck right through Kai'Same's body as his left arm guard successfully defended against Zabuza's sword strike. The force from the sword strike caused the Raikage to fly through the air a few meters away, and it also cut right through Kai'Same, who turned into nothing but water in that moment. What? A water clone? I remarked with anger. No wonder he didn't care that his sword would cut through his partner, he mentally scowled. While in the distance Mai shouted, water-style water dragon jutsu. Kai'Same's real body also appeared in the distance as he shouted, water-style water shark bullet jutsu. A water dragon and water shark crashed into each other, causing a large torrent of water to spread outwards. It was at this moment that a bunch of sand appeared up in the air as Gaara said, sand hail. Sand attacked Zabuza and Kai'Same from above, forcing them both to constantly shift their position. Kai'Same formed the hand sign seal of confrontation and said, water style 1,000 feeding sharks. A huge wave erupted from the water below into thousands of water sharks, effectively blocking the hail of sand, and rushed towards Gaara, Mai, and O. Before anyone else could make a move, Tsunade jumped down towards the watery battlefield and struck down with her fist on the water as she shouted, Haara. The powerful force behind her punch caused an enormous cavity to appear in the water, which forced extremely powerful waves to rise high in the air all around, disrupting Kai'Same's technique. As the large wave rushed out from the cavity, it continued to crash down towards Kai'Same and Zabuza. At this moment Zabuza and Kai's finished weaving the same hand signs as they said, water-style great waterfall jutsu. A giant vortex of water kicked up around them and absorbed the incoming wave before shooting back out with even greater force and ferocity towards Tsunade, Mai, Gaara, and Akaizame, and Zabuza also dashed towards them with their swords in hand at the same time. It was also at this moment that Kimimaro, Kakashi, Kankuro, Tumrai, Chojuro, Ao, Derue, and C chose to intervene. Kakashi appeared in the far distance behind Kai's and Zabuza as he formed the signs of tiger, hare, boar, dog and said, Earth-style earth wall jutsu. A giant wall of earth rose up from the ground beneath all the water and up above it, blocking Kai's and Zabuza's escape route. Ao jumped in front of the Mitsukijimai, C jumped in front of the Reikiju, Kankuro jumped in front of the Kazekage Gaara, and Kimimaro jumped in front of the Hokage Tsunade as Kimimaro also formed the hand signs of ox, boar, ram and said, skeletal wall frame jutsu. A giant wall made out of bones as hard as steel rose up in front of the double waterfall wave created by Zabuza and Kai's as a large crrssshhhh sound was heard as the wave crashed into the skeletal wall. Everyone from Kirigakure was instantly shocked when they saw the massive wall of bones appear. Ao instantly recalled an event that happened a long time ago about a clan that was able to manipulate their bones, who had attacked the Hidden Mist village and were supposed to have been completely wiped out after that battle. Mai also furrowed her brow as she recalled the same event and turned her head to stare at Kimimaro. Tumrai unfolded her fan at his moment and said, wind-style great wind protective wall jutsu. A powerful force of wind intercepted Kai's and Zabuza's dashing form and blew them all the way back near the earth wall Kakashi created. It was also at this time that Kai's raised up same harder in his hand to block a sword strike from Chojuro, while Zabuza raised up his executioner's blade to block a sword strike from Derue. Cling! Cling! The sound of Zabuza and Kai's interlocked in a stalemate of sword strikes against Derue and Chojuro could be heard. Well, these guys aren't half bad, Kai's commented as he blocked a sword strike from Chojuro. TSK. Forget the kids, we've lost the initiative now. Weakening them will have to come at a later date, Zabuza said as he parried a strike from Derue. Splish splash! At this moment Zabuza and Kai's had their backs up against the others as Kai's smirked with a facial expression that showed how much of a pain he thought their situation was. He showed his shark-like teeth and said, well, it can't be helped. Who would have thought that they'd actually be willing to group together and help the other one out so quickly? In normal times they'd usually be thinking of ways to get rid of one another. Onaki and Mifune also arrived at this moment as they felt it was taking too long for the other kids to come back. Before anyone could do anything else, a swirl of distortion appeared by Kai's and Zabuza, revealing a masked Akatsuki member who then sucked in Zabuza and Kai's, teleporting them away. Everyone furrowed their brows as they stared cautiously at this man in front of them. Yo! Everyone! Toby said as he stood there in the middle of everyone's gaze. What are you doing here? I asked. I had wanted Zabuza and Kai's to assess and weaken the power of the 5 Kij a bit, even possibly capture or kill 1 or 2 of you, but it seems that even for them it was a bit too much to ask. I am here to talk now. Just as Toby finished speaking, the Reikage attacked him only for him to phase right through Toby. I couldn't care less for what the Akatsuki's plans are, I remarked. Onaki slowly floated down by the Reikage's side and said, calm down Reikage. Let's at least hear what he has to say. Mai, still off in the distance, looked at Toby and asked, you wanted to take us as hostages? For what? so that my Eye of the Moon plan could be carried out without any complications. Onaki chimed in at this moment. I'm truly surprised that Uchiha Madara is still alive, but why would a man of your caliber choose such an indirect approach? With your strength you could make any plans go the way you'd want it to. Toby turned his head to Onaki. The wounds I received from my fight against the first Hokage Hashirama were too deep. Currently I don't possess much power. My existence now is merely a shell of my former self, so to speak. See, a guard of the Raikage stood out and said, then is this your plan to return to your original self? Toby nodded and said, I suppose you could say that, but that isn't all there is to it. Myfune glared at Toby asking with caution, then what are you planning? What in the world is the Eye of the Moon plan? Walking over to a ledge, Toby sat down in comfort. I want to explain thoroughly, so let me sit down for a bit. In essence, everything will become one with me. A complete being where all is unified. This revelation caused everyone in the room to be shocked with wide eyes. Becoming one. All unified. What do you mean? Onaki asked. Toby narrowed his eyes as he proceeded to tell everyone his story. The Uchiha stone tablet has been passed down for generations. On that tablet is a secret that has been written down by the Sage of the Six Paths long ago. In order to read it, one must possess a special ocular power by using the Sharingan, Mangekyo Sharingan, and the Rinnegan. In that order one can decipher it. Onaki scoffed. Your story has gotten more unbelievable. The Sage of the Six Paths. Nothing but a fairy tale. Toby shrugged his shoulders indifferently. This is the truth. He existed and left behind the stone tablet. Tsunade scowled. What the hell does your plan have to do with the Sage of the Six Paths? Toby took a glance at everyone, ensuring he had their attention before saying, do you know why he became a legend and is regarded as a god among shinobi? That is the connection between the Six Paths and my plan. A long time ago he saved the world from a certain monster. Gaara, a part of the monster was actually once sealed away inside of you. This being was a combination of all the tailed beasts as well as the strongest chakra. The 10 tails. Everyone in the room felt a shiver of coldness run down their spine at the direction this so-called Uchiha Madara's story was going. Toby continued on, the 10 tails was made of Gaara's 1 tails, Shukaku. Nyujito's blazing monster cat, the 2 tails, the previous Mitsukige's 3 tails, Roshi of the lava element's 4 tails, Han of Iwagakyo's 5 tails, the missing ninja Utakata's 6 tails, Fua of Takigakyo's 7 tails, the Raikage's younger brother Killer Bee's 8 tails, and Konoha's demon fox the 9 tails. All of the tailed beasts are nothing more than beings created from the dispersal of the 10 tails chakra by the hands of the Sage of Six Paths. The Sage of Six Paths created a certain ninjutsu in order to protect the world from the 10 tails, and it is still being passed down in secret. The system of the Jinchuriki sealing technique. You see, the Sage of Six Paths was the Jinchuriki of the 10 tails. To immobilize it, he sealed it into his own body. He was worshipped as a god by the people of the world who were terrorized by this beast. However, when he dies, the seal will break and the wicked chakra of the beast would be released once again. Fearing this, before his death he used the last of his power to split the 10 tails chakra into 9 pieces and spread them throughout the world. He then took the chakraless body of the 10 tails and threw it up in the sky, sealing it into the moon. Myfune frowned. So you are collecting all the tailed beasts to gain this unfathomable power, but what will you do once you have that power? I will resurrect the 10 tails and become its Jinchuriki. By using that power I will strengthen my ocular powers and invoke a certain technique. What technique? What are you planning to do? Onaki asked in wariness. I will activate a great genjutsu using the moon to project my eyes. The infinite Tsukiyomi. I will cast a powerful genjutsu on all humans in existence. I will control all humans with that genjutsu and unite the world. A world with no reserve or dispute. Everything will become one with me. One unity. That is my Eye of the Moon plan. The Raikage was furious as he said, are you fucking crazy? Like we'd hand over the world to you. Gaara furrowed his brow and said, an illusionary piece is nothing but deception. It will hold no meaning in the real world. Mai also frowned and said, there will be no hopes or dreams, only running in that kind of world. Onaki glared at Toby. Unite the world. It sounds more like you want to make the world your own. Tsunade also clenched her fist and gritted her teeth. You're insane. You're a fool if you think we'd just gladly step aside and do nothing about it. Toby laughed and laughed some more before saying, then what have you 5 Kij been able to do? You should be able to understand this the most. There is no such thing as hope. Hope is the same thing as giving up. That is why there is no other way than to make it a deception. Hand over the remaining 8 tails and 9 tails and cooperate with my plans. If you don't, then there will be war. The hell I'll give B over to you, you maniac. I shouted. HMPF. Over my dead body. Tsunade shouted. I won't hand over Naruto to you. Gaara said. I feel the same. Mai commented. Toby sat in silence as he expected this kind of response. Although I myself may not hold much power, I do have the power of all the tailed beasts I've gathered thus far. You won't be able to win. Gaara glared back and said, I will not throw away hope. Toby narrowed his eyes. So be it. I hereby declare the 4th Great Ninja War. The next time we meet will be on the battlefield. He then disappeared in a swirl of darkness in mere moments, leaving behind a very silent and stunned room full of Kijs and their guards and advisors. So now what? Onaki said, breaking the silence. We must form the allied Shinobi force. It is the only way to match the combative power of 7-tailed beasts. Gaara said. I agree. We can't let the Akatsuki keep doing what they want. Tsunade said. Fine. Let us crush the Akatsuki once and for all. I said. Amen. Very well. Onaki also assented before asking, what of the 8 tails and 9 tails? What about them? I questioned. How should we deploy them in battle? Tsunade also chimed in, true, their military might could possibly be capable of helping us turn the war into our favor early on. I shook his head. No. I refuse. Knowing B, he would most likely cause more chaos on the battlefield than be much help. In fact, he doesn't really follow orders well, so, anyways, I propose we hide them for now. Tsunade widened her eyes in disapproval. What? Hide them? But this is Uchiha Madara. If we lose the initiative outright, we won't get a second chance to turn it around. Gaara stepped forward at this time. Calm down, Hokage. I agree with the Raikage. First off, this war that he proposed was most likely to draw out the 9 tails and 8 tails. In the past, the Akatsuki have been quietly capturing the tailed beasts. This time they declared open war. They have caused enough strife and anger amongst the 5 great nations already from their movements and are now an open target, so they elected to just declare war. Their objectives are the 8 and 9 tails. They probably want us to send them to the battlefield and may have some sort of plan or trap to capture them. Also, I may not know the Reikige's younger brother Killer Bee, but I do know Naruto. Naruto is just as likely to do something against orders, and it may cause chaos or confusion on the battlefield. For now I think we should keep them hidden. I agree. Mai commented. She then turned to Kimimaro and asked, "Boy, your technique earlier, are you from the Kaguya clan?" Tsunade was about to chime in, but Kimimaro saw no need to hide this fact and replied, "Yes. I am the last member of the Kaguya clan." Kakashi felt a bit anxious as to how the Mitsukage and her entourage would react, so he walked and stood by Kimimaro just in case. Mai put on a thoughtful look before turning to Tsunade and asked, "Exactly what does this mean?" Tsunade sighed and said, "What does what mean?" Kimimaro is a member of the Kaguya clan. Konoha didn't have anything to do with the Kaguya clan's attack on Kirigakyo, nor did Konoha plot to steal information and whatnot from Kirigakyo. Kimimaro was abandoned as a child and was saved from a life of misfortune by a leaf shinobi of ours. They made their way to Konoha and the third Hokage took them in. He's unaffiliated with Kirigakyo. Kimimaro turned to look at Kakashi and asked, "Did I cause trouble?" Kakashi smiled and said, "Don't worry about it. Lord Fifth will handle this." Kimimaro could only nod. Mai and Ao remained silent for a few minutes as they took in what Tsunade said, while Chojuro just stood to the side awkwardly. At this moment Gaara spoke up and said, "Is there a problem?" Mai and Ao looked at each other with a look of defeat, as they simply couldn't find a justified reason enough to pursue the matter. Especially after everything that just happened, so Mai simply shook her head and said, "I was just curious." Mai Fune walked forward as he coughed to grab everyone's attention and said, "Ahem." Returning to the main topic at hand. Hiding the two remaining Jinchuriki should not have a drastic impact on our collective strength. Remember that this is also the very first ever Shinobi alliance between the 5 great nations, and its battle power is also unknown. It is possible that our collective might may be able to contend with and may be greater than the 7-tailed beasts Madara has captured. Tsunade clicked her tongue at the prospect of having to hide Naruto. TSK. Very well. Then where are we sending them? A nodded his head in approval of everyone's consent. Don't worry about that, I already have an idea. A remote place in Kumogakyo where B and I used to train. It is very safe there. Also, no Akatsuki members were formed from Kumogakyo, so there's little to no chance of there being a spy from Kumo to sell us out. Everyone nodded in assent to this as Mai Fune said, "Very well. It is decided then. As the leader of the neutral factions and mediator of the summit, I hereby declare the official formation of the first allied Shinobi forces of the 5 great nations. As the Kazekage is too young, the Hidden Mist Village has mysterious rumors tied to the Akatsuki. The Hidden Stone Village have utilized the Akatsuki in the past, and Uchiha Madara was a founder of Konoha. That leaves the Reikage, as the best choice for position of Supreme Commander of the Allied Shinobi forces." Very well. Everyone nodded in agreement. Rustle. Rustle. Thud. Click. Izaya laid down a scroll on the table before him as he read through its contents in the dimly lit room. So the place where all the murderous aura was found is in the Moon Country. That's an island where the village hidden under the moon is located. Using the Fire Country as a reference, it'd be to the far southeast waters between the Kanashi Ocean and the Kijua Ocean. It's pretty far from here, but should be worth checking out. It seems Danza had found some interesting information about some sort of weapon that was hidden on that island. I wonder what it could be. After combing through the rest of Danza's archives in this room, I prepared to leave when I saw an unassuming tattered and worn scroll pushed in the corner under a pile of papers in the room collecting dust. Well, probably isn't anything important, but doesn't hurt to check it out. I picked it up and rolled it out on the table as I took a look at its contents. Not much on here. Looks like this scroll is a remnant from the now lost Uzumaki clan. It's pretty old and the words are nearly illegible. Without the Sharingan I wouldn't be able to piece together what the words say at all. Something about a relic of the eternal flame and the secrets of the four-symbol sealing jutsu. Interesting, but seems like the relic of this eternal flame was lost when the Whirlpool country was destroyed. Apparently this relic was a key component to how the Uzumaki clan was able to develop the four-symbol sealing jutsu. I wonder what this relic of eternal flame is. The relic is some sort of ancient-looking lantern. Well, since it has to do with the secrets of the four-symbol sealing jutsu, this might be worth looking into more. I'll hold on to this scroll just in case. Taking one last sweep around the room and finding nothing else of interest, I headed out the door. Just as I walked out and changed my chakra back into sensing mode, I felt a disturbance throughout the entire hideout. Looks like Sajuke found Danza, I mentally noted as I recognized Sajuke's chakra signature chasing 3 other signatures. I then sensed several other figures chasing Sajuke and noted that they were Root and Bu. I thought I told him to be more careful, but I guess after he found Danza he just went for the kill. Boom! A loud sound was heard as all those chakra signatures I was tracking on the lower level all of a sudden rose up to the first level before appearing outside the hideout. Guess they charged outside. I brandished my special kunai in my right hand and flew to Sajuke's location. Fwish! Just as I appeared by Sajuke's side, 3 shuriken flew towards us, so I quickly deflected them with my special kunai. Ting ting ting. Danza widened his eyes in surprise at my sudden appearance by Sajuke's side. Karasuma Izaya. Yo! I replied nonchalantly. Izaya? Sajuke questioned, noting my presence as he stared at Danza with hatred. I see you found Danza pretty quickly, but I wish you acted a bit more covertly. All this commotion has attracted the other Root and Bu stationed in this place. I commented. TSK. There was a warning barrier placed on the lower level near his position. It went off before I noticed it. Sajuke replied. Then, I guess that leaves us no choice but to take out everyone. You focus on Danza. I'll keep the others at bay. You gonna be alright taking on everyone else like that by yourself? Sajuke questioned doubtfully. Well, I doubt he made the necessary preparations to kill me this time, so I shouldn't have a huge problem. At least escaping with my life will be a lot easier this time. And after my experience with the last assassination attempt, I'll know what tricks of his to look out for. We'll watch each other's backs while you focus on Danza and I focus on the other guys. Fine. Sajuke assented. Swish swish swish. At this moment 20 Root and Bu stood around in the vicinity while Fu and Torun stood beside Danza, who began unwrapping the seal around his right arm filled with Sharingan. Remember about the Izanagi technique I told you about before we found Danza's hideout? Be mindful of it. I reminded. Got it. Sajuke replied. Danza however frowned as he heard our conversation, thinking, whatever, even if they know about Izanagi it doesn't mean they'll be able to defeat me. Bang! Sajuke and I dashed towards our respective opponents at this moment. I went to face off against the 20 Anbu in the vicinity as Sajuke engaged Fu and Torun while Danza hurried to unseal and unwrap his right arm. Swish! Bang! Boom. Ting. Zing. Fwing. Fwoosh. Clank. Schlick. Skid. My feet slid across the ground as I steadied my stance while keeping an eye on the enemy. In less than a few minutes of our first engagement in combat I had killed 5 of the Anbu, reducing their numbers to 15 instead of 20, which greatly alarmed these Anbu members. No wonder he was able to survive against the last assassination attempt. He's a monster. An Anbu said. Maybe you guys just suck. I taunted with a smirk. I sidestepped and dodged 3 kunai and kicked off a tree, dodging a fire ninjutsu attack before throwing out my special kunai and said, "Kunai Shadow Clone Jutsu." More than 100 special kunai flew out in the vicinity while the Anbu members blocked, parried, deflected, and dodged to avoid getting seriously injured. I quickly formed the snake hand sign and said, "Wood-style silent strangle jutsu." Large wooden vines quickly entangled 3 Anbu and pulled them next to 3 of the special kunai lying around. I quickly flew to those 3 different locations and slit their throats, killing them before anyone could react. 4 Anbu members jumped out and unleashed a barrage of wind, fire, lightning, and earth ninjutsu, prompting me to fly to a different kunai. Before they could attack again I flew to another kunai and I continued to fly to several other kunai in quick succession, confusing them and preventing them from acting. I finally stood atop a tree branch at this moment and took a look at my work. Whilst flying to several kunai locations I had arranged 5 circles made out of 5 kunai each. I quickly activated my traps by forming the hand sign of dragon and tiger before 2 Anbu members appeared, stabbing at my neck and chest with their swords. Dodging one and deflecting the other with a special kunai in my hand, I touched the hands of one Anbu, teleporting him away into one of the 5 circles. I then did a quick turn and touched the arm of the second Anbu, also sending him into the same circle as the first. Ah! They both screamed in agony as they were lit ablaze and incinerated by the flames scorching their bodies. What the heck just happened? An Anbu exclaimed as he watched his 2 comrades get burnt to crisps for a total of 5 seconds before dropping dead. I smiled and said, "That is my original technique, combining fuinjutsu and ninjutsu. I call it the Fire Element Seal Punishing Array Jutsu." Just as I finished explaining I flew to several other kunai, confusing the Anbu again as they couldn't predict where I would appear next out of the 100 kunai surrounding the forest. This allowed me to effectively sneak up on 3 other Anbu and sending them into 3 different circles of my unique jutsu. Once they were sent inside they were either burnt to a crisp from a bombardment of flames or they were electrocuted to death from a storm of lightning. "What? Lightning as well?" another Anbu said in shock. "Of course. That one is my lightning element seal punishing array jutsu," I said as I disappeared again. I smirked as I continued flying to different locations, watching the panicked reactions of these Anbu. "Only 10 left," I noted to myself while also taking a peek at Sasuke. "Seems he's in a stalemate against Fu and Torun, and looks like Danza just finished unsealing his arm. Torun's body is filled with incredibly toxic and poisonous bugs that degrade his opponent's cells. His ability is indeed a bit troublesome to deal with. With Fu being a sensor type, he can sense when Sasuke wants to activate his Amaterasu, letting Fu and Torun dodge and hide in time before they can be hit. At this moment Sasuke dodged a palm strike from Torun and did a backflip to create some distance while Fu sneakily appeared behind Sasuke, wanting to use his mind transmission technique to take over Sasuke's body. Noticing this, I quickly threw a special kunai at Fu, forcing him to dodge forward to prevent himself from being hit. This created an opportunity for Sasuke to quickly turn around and slash at Fu's head with his sword. Fu quickly rolled down to the side to dodge Sajuke's sword strike, only to end up near one of my special kunai. I quickly flew to that location before anyone could react and placed my hand on Fu, teleporting him to the last of the 5 active arranged circles and said, Lightning Element Seal Punishing Array Jutsu. Gvuawa. Fu screamed as he was electrocuted by intense lightning ninjutsu for 5 seconds straight before he dropped dead inside the encirclement of kunai. No. Fu. Torun shouted as he rushed towards Sajuke and I, while the 10 remaining Anbu also rushed towards us at the same time. Danza had also dashed forwards as he weaved the signs of rat, snake, horse, snake, dog and shouted, Wind-style vacuum blast barrage. He sucked in a deep breath and then let out a powerful torrent of wind blades aimed at Sajuke and I. Sajuke activated his Susanoo, effectively blocking Danza's attack, while I formed the signs of tiger, snake and said, wood-style deep forest emergence. Before Torun, Danza, and the 10 remaining Anbu could reach us, giant branches of wood and trees sprouted from the ground, tripping 3 Anbu and ensnaring 4, preventing them from escaping. Torun, Danza, and the last 3 Anbu successfully dodged backwards and escaped the entrapment of the forest. I then formed the signs of dragon, bird, snake and said, wood-style killing spear jutsu. 4 long and sharp wooden stakes sprung out from the ground and shot forth with incredible speed, impaling the 4 Anbu that had been caught in the deep forest emergence and died. At this moment Torun sneakily appeared from our left side and struck out with his poisonous right palm. Sajuke, noticing him with his main Gekyo Sharingan, used his Susanoo to grab Torun and crushed his body before saying, Amaterasu. Torun died and was completely incinerated, not leaving a trace of his poisonous body behind. Fuck. How the hell are we supposed to fight these 2? One of the remaining 6 Anbu exclaimed. Shit. One has the main Gekyo Sharingan and the other uses the wood style. It's like fighting against the founders of Konoha, Uchiha Madara and Hashirama Senju. Another Anbu exclaimed. Danza frowned as he appeared above the trees and weaved the signs of rat, hare, dog and said, wind-style vacuum bullets jutsu. A blast of small and powerful air bullets shot towards Sajuke and I at this moment. Sajuke raised the arm of his Susanoo to defend himself, while I flew to a kunai off in the distance to avoid being hit. Sajuke took this opportunity to grab Danza with one of his Susanoo's hands and crushed Danza, killing him, prompting Danza to release one of his 10 Sharinganais, leaving him with only 9. Due to the deep forest emergence creating a bunch of thick branches and trees, it had picked up many of my special kunai that were spread out in the forest. Hence, when I teleported away to avoid Danza's air bullets, I had appeared behind 2 of the remaining 6 Anbu without them noticing and said, Taiaugan. 2 golden spheres appeared in my left hand and right hand as I struck out and pierced the bodies of both Anbu, turning them into nothing but ashes in a few seconds. What? How? The remaining 4 Anbu exclaimed as they hadn't noticed my presence. They quickly got in formation and encircled me as 2 Anbu rushed in with their blades, while the other 2 weaved hand signs and unleashed a barrage of wind ninjutsu and lightning ninjutsu. I quickly utilized the body flicker technique to move incredibly fast in the air and hung upside down on a tree branch created from the deep forest emergence technique, effectively dodging their formation attack. Deja vu. Nearly a similar tactic used against me last time, I mentally noted. I quickly formed the snake hand sign and said, wood-style silent strangle jutsu. 4 thick wooden vines emerged beneath the feet of all 4 remaining Anbu members, effectively ensnaring and trapping 2 of them, whilst the other 2 successfully escaped. Forming the hand signs of dragon, bird, snake, I said, wood-style killing spear jutsu. 2 wooden stakes pierced through the bodies of the trapped Anbu, killing them, as I also weaved the signs of bird, boar, ox, rat, dog, and snake, causing a slight ripple in the surrounding air before dissipating just as quickly as it appeared. Preparations done, I said to myself. At this moment one of the remaining Anbu dashed out from the side, swinging with his sword at my neck, while the other Anbu threw 5 shuriken from below. Just before the sword and shuriken could hit their mark, I flew back to Sajuke's location, who had just managed to pierce Danza's body with an arrow from his Susanoo. Danza once again faded into illusion as his body reappeared in the distance, leaving him with only 5 Sharingan left on his arm. The 2 remaining Anbu also appeared by his side at this moment. Danza looked on at both Sajuke and Izaya with a look of anger, frustration, and fury as he shouted, "You bastards! Konoha should have never let you both live. Itakai! Do you see this younger brother of yours? He is a disgrace to the leaf. He is your one and only mistake. And you, Izaya? Who the hell are you? Why can you use wood style? You have ruined everything I ever had. If you had just been obedient and joined me from the start, we could have done many great things together. Don't you know that all I ever wanted was to protect the hidden leaf? With your power by my side, we could have done so much more. Instead, you both force me into this kind of situation. If I had known this was how you both were going to turn out, I would have disposed of you both from the very beginning." We both just let Danza's words go through one ear and out the other as we looked at him with indifference, which infuriated Danza even more. Danza turned to the 2 remaining Anbu and said, "You 2 back me up. We will get rid of Sajuke first. Izaya's current speed is too great to contend against for the time being. Once we are rid of Sajuke, we will set up a barrier to deal with Izaya." Just as Danza stepped forward, he felt 2 sharp pains in his chest. As he looked down, he saw that there were 2 blades pierced in his chest. "What?" Danza exclaimed in confusion as he looked at the 2 Anbu by his side who had stabbed him. Danza faded from existence and reappeared in the distance as another Sharingan closed its eye, leaving only 4 remaining, whilst he stared in disbelief at his own Anbu. "What did you do to them?" Danza asked as he stared at me. Danza widened his eyes at what happened next as his remaining 2 Anbu had turned to each other and stabbed one another, effectively committing double suicide. At this moment both Anbu had finally snapped out of their daze and realized that something was wrong. However, it was already too late as they had both pierced the other's heart. With their dying breath they said, "What the hell did you do to us?" I smirked and said, "Demonic illusion, bewildering jutsu." Both Anbu had a look of disbelief as they coughed up blood, struggling to remember when they had fallen prey to genjutsu. As they both closed their eyes forever, the last thing that flashed past their minds was the memory of Izaya performing some hand signs and them feeling a ripple in the air that was too small and slight for one to be concerned about it at all. So that was when they both whispered as they lay dead on the ground. Before Danza even had a chance to react, Sajuke took a look at him and said, "Amaterasu." "Ah!" Danza screamed as his body was lit ablaze before his existence faded once more and he reappeared in the distance. He quickly bit his thumb to create some blood and formed the hand signs of boar, dog, bird, monkey, ram and said, "Summoning jutsu." A large poof of smoke appeared and revealed a giant Baku, a creature that looked like a giant elephant chimera. It opened its mouth and a terrifying suction force was generated as it began to suck everything in the surrounding into its mouth. "Ku!" Sajuke groaned as he struggled to remain grounded whilst protected inside his Susanoo. I placed his hands together in the snake hand sign, creating a thick and strong wooden vine to tie around my waist, keeping me grounded. Danza began to run around as he attempted to get behind us whilst Sasuke formed the hand signs of snake, ram, monkey, boar, horse, tiger and said, fire-style fireball jutsu. The powerful suction force of the Baku enhanced the fireball Sasuke spewed out from his mouth. The heat of the flames quickly engulfed the mouth of the Baku, forcing it to stop its ferocious inhalation of the surrounding area and scream in agony before disappearing in a puff of smoke. Danza widened his eyes in surprise that Sasuke was able to deal with his Baku so fast. Before Danza could make a move, I kept my hands in the snake hand sign and caused a wooden vine to entangle Danza's feet and body, rooting him in place. Sasuke turned towards Danza at this moment and created a Chidori in his hand before saying, Chidori sharp spear. His Chidori changed shape into a long spear of lightning and pierced Danza's heart, killing him, causing Danza to fade from existence once more as he appeared off to the side while panting heavily. Another one of his Sharingan closed its eyes as he was left with only two. Huff. 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 You, huff, bastards. Danza cursed as he fought to steady his breath, assessing his body as he mentally noted how low his chakra was. He quickly tried to formulate what options he had left as he thought, I only have 2 minutes left maximum in order to kill these two brats. I only have one shot. If I can't kill Izaya, then I need to at least take out Sasuke. Danza steadied his breath as he dashed towards us. I narrowed my eyes as I took note of Danza's sorry state and thought, Danza is on his last legs. He knows he won't be able to escape now, and he knows that with only 2 Sharingans left he can't hope to do much else in this fight. He'll probably do everything he can to get as close to us as possible and try to take us out with him using the reverse 4 symbol sealing jutsu. Just as Danza jumped to his left, Sasuke had his Susanoo fire an arrow and pierce Danza's body, prompting him to lose another Sharingan, which left him with only one. He continued to dash forward as fast as he could towards us as he weaved the signs of rat, hare, dog and said, wind-style vacuum bullets jutsu. Small and powerful compressed bullets of air shot forth towards Sasuke and I, prompting Sasuke to place the hand of his Susanoo in front of him while I formed the signs of tiger, hare, boar, dog and said, earth-style earth wall jutsu. A thick wall of earth appeared and successfully intercepted the bullets of air. It was at this moment that Danza arrived before both of us. Sasuke quickly used his Susanoo to grab Danza's body and crushed his frame, killing him. Once again Danza's body faded from existence as his last Sharingan closed its eye and another Danza appeared. Danza quickly removed his upper body clothes as black patterns appeared on his chest as he shouted, reverse 4 symbol sealing jutsu. Black inky liquid quickly poured out of his chest and pooled on the ground at this moment as Danza's last thoughts flashed past his mind. He remembered the time when he was with Hiruzen and the second Hokage Tobirama. They had been surrounded by an elite group of shinobi from Kumogakyo. In order to survive, someone had to act as the decoy while the other members in their team escaped. Although he wanted to volunteer himself, he couldn't bring himself to offer his hand. He shook in uncontrollable fear at the thought of dying and being unable to fulfill his duties. It was at this moment that Hiruzen volunteered himself to be the sacrifice. Before he knew it, Lord Second declared Hiruzen as the third Hokage and remained behind as the decoy. Coward. He knew that he was a coward in the face of actual death. He had always lost to Hiruzen in everything he did. To this day he always wanted to be the one recognized for having accomplished amazing feats for the village. Why did it have to be Hiruzen who was named Hokage? Why did it have to be Hiruzen who had more courage? Why did it have to be Hiruzen who was so skilled in jutsu? Why did it have to be Hiruzen who gained everyone's public acknowledgement? Why was it Hiruzen who was able to train such impressive and skilled shinobi like the legendary Sannin? Why did Yamato choose to remain by Hiruzen's side instead of his? Why did Izaya choose Hiruzen instead of him? Why? 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 Why did he always compare himself to Hiruzen in everything he did? Why couldn't he just accept that Hiruzen was a capable man and shinobi and the things he had were things he deserved? Why did he have to feel so inferior to Hiruzen? Danza sighed, lamenting to himself as his eyes darkened as his one last thought crossed his mind. Hiruzen, in the end, was I nothing but a failure? For once I had just wanted you to be the one looking at my back as I stood there proudly and tell you not to worry and that I will be the one to shoulder the responsibility of the village. But I realize now that I was never deserving of such a position. In the end, I wasn't able to become a Hokage. As Danza's final thought passed in silence, a large black sphere spread outwards and engulfed the surroundings in a 20-meter radius before collapsing in on itself and leaving a seal on Danza's lifeless corpse. Sasuke and I stood off in the distance near my special kunai as we watched everything play out in safety. We stood unmoving in silence for a while as we just looked at Danza's lifeless corpse and the destruction he created around him with his last kamikaze attack. He's finally dead, Sasuke said almost inaudibly as he stared with a look of sadness. I glanced at Sasuke knowing that he was thinking about Itachi. It wasn't until the sun began setting in the sky that we returned to Danza's corpse. Sasuke groaned as he clutched his eyes. Side effects of using the Mangekyou Sharingan, I commented. Sasuke nodded his head and said, "You told me before that attack I wanted you to protect his body and have me transplant his eyes. That would allow me to awaken the eternal Mangekyou Sharingan and also prevent the side effects of going blind, correct?" I nodded my head. "Amen. That's right. I've decided. With Itachi's eyes, I'll take a look at what the world looks like through his eyes. With Itachi's power I'll see what it is he wanted to protect so much. A village. A clan. Bonds. I'm ready to transplant Itachi's eyes," Sasuke said as he had a look of sadness on his face. There was a moment of silence between us before I said, "All right. Then, I'll let you be the one to take care of presenting Danza's body to the leaf. If you ask Lord Third Hokage, he'll help you with the process of transplanting Itachi's eyes." "You aren't returning to the leaf with me?" Sasuke asked. I shook my head, seeing the look of confusion on Sasuke's face. "No. After you transplant Itachi's eyes I reckon you'll leave in search of your companions Sujitsu, Karen, and Jago. I advise you to at least travel with one other person to help you out just in case. After all, that masked Akatsuki member is still out there and who knows what tricks he has up his sleeves. As for me, I also have something I'd like to do before returning. For me, I can get around a lot faster and leave a lot faster in tough situations on my own. Plus, I'm not sure what hidden dangers I might face where I'm going, so the more people I bring the riskier it might get for all of us to make it out alive. At least for me, I'm quite confident in my survival skills. I can't say about others nor for my ability to make it in time to save others." "I see," Sasuke replied. "Then, I'll send you off near Konoha." "Amen." Sasuke nodded. Just before I was going to send them off, Sasuke said, "Izaya, it sounds like you'll be going somewhere pretty dangerous. Be careful." I smiled and nodded, saying, "I will." I then sent Sasuke and Danza's body off, teleporting them near Konoha as I took a look around one more time and destroyed Danza's hidden base before dashing off. That's it for this video, guys. Hope you like the video. Like, share and subscribe the channel. Also make sure you give me your recommendation in the comment section down below. Thank for watching.